board can see him. Right about.
How you doing, Gene?
Who's doing the pledge? These two?
Yeah.
Just the two of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to hold the microphone?
Yeah.
Say test.
Test,
Oh. Me? No, you said
test, test.
test.
Okay. So when it's time to do the pledge, just come up and stand in front of your dad. If you wouldn't mind holding the microphone for in front of, right in front of the podium, okay? You comfortable with that? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Is it on? I want to. You know, you got that place.
I gave you the microphone and you're going up and okay?
Huh? Why me? What about Urdu? You're holding it. I know. You're holding it.
No, I'm not good.
You are. He said. Then what am I going to do?
That's I give you the microphone and you hold it to me.
Can you lower that thing?
No, we can't. They're going to have a performance immediately after.
No, because they are short.
Are you going to go up there?
They won't be. You'll
Okay,
just
tell
go
him.
up and stand
Tell him.
right in front of your father.
Okay.
You want to follow me?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Ravi Shah, President of our governing board, and I am happy to get this meeting in order tonight. Today is Tuesday, February 10, and on this day in 1967, the U.S. ratified the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and it has terms regarding presidential and vice presidential succession, along with other items which may or may not be relevant in the near future. And as we ponder an AI takeover of the world, an important event on this path occurred on this day in 1996 when IBM's Deep Blue defeated chess champion Garry Kasparov. So big leap forward in technology a few decades ago. And today we celebrate National Umbrella Day. So an item that's very common but not very used in Tucson and with our blue skies. And also National Cream Cheese Brownie Day. So that's an interesting combination, but a delicious one at that. With that, Ms. Barboa, can we have roll call, please?
Ms. Ekstrom?
Here.
Ms. Luna Rose?
Here.
Mr. Romero?
Here.
Dr. Ravi?
Here.
Ms. Shaw?
Here.
And next we'll have our land acknowledgement statement, tonight read by Ms. Sadie Shaw.
Thank you. On behalf of the Governing Board of the Tucson Unified School District, I, Sadie Shaw, acknowledge that the schools, buildings, and facilities of the Tucson Unified School District reside on the ancestral homeland of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the federally recognized tribal land of the Pasquayaqui tribe.
Thank you, Board Member Shaw. Next we have our Pledge of Allegiance, and we have, for me, some special guests here tonight. My two children. My oldest is actually here as well, who will be performing in the Aliceville Jazz Band in a few moments. But for the Pledge of Allegiance, we have my twins, Arya and Arjun Gravoy Shah. They are both second grade students, great students at Lime River Elementary School. Arya's favorite subjects in school are writing and PE. She enjoys playing outside, board games, and Minecraft, and her favorite activities include weekend movie nights and family game nights. She is active in Girl Scouts and enjoys playing on her soccer team. Arjun's favorite school subjects are reading and PE. He loves playing Mario and Zelda games and spending time outside on the playground. Some of his favorite activities are watching TV and having fun during family game nights. He also enjoys playing on his soccer team and participates in cross country. Can everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Good job. Great. Dr. Trujillo, next we have agenda adjustments. Are any agenda adjustment recommendations for tonight?
Members of the governing board, I'd like to move up item 6.4, a very special moment for our community as the family of Oscar Romero will be requesting the board on a very, very important request regarding Cherry Field. And then item 8.1, probably tonight's item of most consequence, employee benefits. We have some guests from Valley Schools. We would like to move them up. Both of these items, 6.4 and 8.1, directly following the call to the audience.
Okay, any objection? All right, I'll take unanimous consent for those agenda adjustments. Dr. Trio, back to you for superintendent's report.
As always, we love to begin every single board meeting with a celebration of student excellence, whether that's academic excellence or it's artistic and musical excellence. It's all part of the amazing story of the TUSD, Tucson Unified School District student body. And tonight, we begin the meeting with a performance by the Aliceville Middle School Jazz Band, directed by Alan Honecker. This talented ensemble, whose membership is earned through a very competitive audition process, performs a diverse repertoire that includes swing, funk, Latin, and rock styles. These students rehearse every single day as part of their class schedule, and they bring tremendous energy and musicianship to everything that they do. The jazz band has consistently earned excellent and superior ratings at the Arizona Band and Orchestra Directors Association Tucson Area Jazz Festival. Many of these young musicians also participate in Vail's Advanced Symphonic Band. This year, we're especially proud that 3 of the students were selected for the Arizona All-State Band, an absolutely remarkable achievement. And tonight's selections are The Defibrillator by Adrian Ray and Orange Sherbet by Count Basie, arranged by Sammy Nestico. On behalf of the Tucson Unified School District, I want to thank the students, Mr. Honecker, Principal Josh Peebles, the Vail Middle School staff, TUSD Fine Arts. You're about to see another amazing example as to why the Tucson Unified School District is the leader in Arizona when it comes to music and arts excellence for our students. Take it away, Alice Vail. How about another round of applause for the wonderful musicians from Aliceville and the wonderful parents that support them? Absolutely.
Dr. Trujillo, that was a senior, almost adult band we just had.
They were absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Eighth graders and seventh graders, right?
That's right.
It's amazing.
It's okay. Yeah, you can do it. We're okay. We're okay.
Okay.
All right, moving on with our superintendent's report. We kick off our first February meeting celebrating the beginning of Black History Month here in the Tucson Unified School District. February provides a meaningful opportunity for the thousands of students that we serve to reflect on and honor the significant contributions of African Americans, not just here locally around our state, but nationally. Across our district, schools and departments have organized activities and learning experiences that connect students to Black history, art, culture, and achievement. For example, our middle school students recently competed in the annual Black History Month Brain Bowl, demonstrating impressive knowledge about historical figures and events. Black History Month isn't just about celebration, it's about deepening understanding, lifting up voices, and inspiring our students to learn from the past to shape a more just and equitable future. I believe we've made available as a public attachment all of the different events that our African American Student Services Department have worked hard at planning and putting together with our community partners throughout the month to celebrate Black History Month. Had an opportunity to do some school visits. Had a great time visiting both Tully and Robbins, two great school communities out there towards the southwest adjacent part of the Tucson Unified School District universe. Thank you to Sean Wilkins and Principal Chandra Thomas, Tully and Robbins principals, respectively. Had a great time visiting both schools and had a really good time with the student leaders that welcomed me out there at Tully and showed me the garden. And the first time I had been out there since they completed the garden. Now it's a beautiful place. It's got all kinds of different types of vegetation and plants. And they introduced me to their desert tortoise, who is hibernating for the season. But always impressed to see our school gardens in full bloom. So had a wonderful visit out there at Tully. Had an opportunity to sit down at Robbins with our wonderful employees for a focus group, largely on the issues that matter to our employees. We had great discussions, and actually a discussion that's probably pertinent tonight as our employees out at Robbins talk to me about benefits and just how difficult the benefits landscape is. We talked about facilities and some of the facilities challenges at the school, and then a really productive discussion about the future of the Tucson Unified School District as we face some unprecedented challenges with economic flight and birth rates and demographic changes. And so very, very productive and meaningful conversation with our employees out there at Robbins. In late January, I had an opportunity to stop by the spelling bee out at Howenstein. I want to thank governing board member Ms. Ekstrom. She served as sort of the celebrity judge and had the difficult task of choosing amongst all those amazing students that so bravely competed for their respective schools. So a representative from schools across the district came together to compete to see who could be the best speller in the Tucson Unified School District. It was a close and exciting competition. We certainly want to congratulate Eleanor from Lineweaver Elementary School. She placed first, and then Adelaide from Dodge, who took second place, and then Momar from Myers-Ganong Elementary placed third. But it is Eleanor and Adelaide that will represent the Tucson Unified School District at the upcoming Pima County Spelling Bee. We applaud all of our students for their hard work and their bravery in getting out there and competing, and their dedication and poise under pressure. Also, a couple weeks ago, I had an opportunity to attend the University High School Senior Debate, one of the historic events that takes place every single year on the University High School campus. Once again, our seniors demonstrated exceptional critical thinking, civic engagement, and respectful dialogue as they formed their own political parties and debated issues ranging from foreign policy to domestic priorities. These debates showcase their research, communication skills, and deep thinking about the future. It's inspiring to see our students engage in civil discourse and tackle complex topics with maturity, respect, and of course, a vision for the future. I also had an opportunity to meet with our Parent Advisory Council, hosted by the Mexican American Student Services Department. I want to thank all of our parents who came out for an evening of meaningful dialogue and shared their perspectives and engage in a very constructive conversation about how we can best support all of our students and families during this most difficult time. Not surprisingly, the dominant topic of discussion that evening was recent immigration enforcement actions by the federal government, concerns from our families about how the district and our schools can keep their kids safe, how we can keep them safe. The insights from these discussions, of course, continue to shape our work and strengthen our partnerships with our families and our community members. I also was able to head down, along with the RINCON, the RUHS administrative teams, to the Arizona Music Educators Association annual conference, where the extremely talented Saguaro High School Guitar Orchestra and, of course, the world famous here in Arizona Rincon University Jazz Band performed and distinguished themselves with absolutely excellent musicianship and artistry as they captivated the crowd there at AMEA. The AMEA, established in 1939, promotes music study, supports comprehensive music instruction, and champions widely accessible music education in every single public school here in Arizona. They recognize, as we do, that music education is a core part of curriculum because it builds creativity, critical thinking, teamwork, and even helps students deepen their literacy, math, and science skills. It is the marquee professional association for music educators in the state of Arizona, and to be asked to perform at their annual conference is one of the most meaningful accomplishments and honors that any district or school-based musical group or band could have the opportunity of receiving. So we want to thank the AMEA for welcoming both Saguaro and Rincon University jazz groups to perform. It was truly an honor to attend and celebrate our student excellence. And lastly, last week I had the opportunity of attending our closing dinner with the Tucson Korea Ambassador Program. This program, of course, provides our students with powerful opportunity to engage in global learning, cultural exchange, and diplomacy while representing TUSD with pride. The closing dinner was such a wonderful celebration of the students' growth, reflection, and shared experiences. It was clear how meaningful and transformative this opportunity had been for our student participants as well as the team of educators that joined them from South Korea. I want to commend our students for being outstanding ambassadors for the district and extend my gratitude to the staff, the program coordinators, and especially the host families who make this program possible. Experiences like TCAP remind us how impactful global education can be in preparing students to be thoughtful and engaged and interconnected global citizens. So another wonderful year of TCAP. She's not here right now, but I certainly want to extend a personal note of gratitude and thanks to our program coordinator that works in Refugee Student Services, June Lee, who works very, very hard to put that program together. And in closing the superintendent's report tonight, I wanted to update our community, our external community, and of course our TUSD community on the training on our plan and protocol for federal immigration enforcement actions that we provided to all of our principals and all of our front office teams last week. Our principals are working through all of their schools to extend that training to all of their staffs to make sure that all of the teachers and all of their classified staff are fully trained on our plan and protocol for any potential situation where we could be facing a federal immigration enforcement action on our campus. So that training really covered some broad areas that I'll make sure and capture for all of you that are watching. First, it starts with our policies. I think we can never repeat enough that TUSD policy ACB is the official not only policy, but is the official statement of our core value that all children are welcome in this district and every single school, regardless of immigration status, national origin, or any type of political or religious affiliation or background, and our policy supports federal law. based on the landmark Supreme Court decision Plyer v. Doe, which prohibits schools from using immigration and immigration status as a criteria for enrollment or for as a means to discontinue enrollment for students. That also applies to all of our parents. We do not enforce or collect immigration documentation on any of our parents as they bring their students to our schools or as they join us in celebrating the achievements of their students. Our school will continue to be a safe space and an immigration enforcement-free zone for the students and the families that we serve. TUSD policy JIH does require law enforcement identification and a warrant. I believe that what is different from a year ago when we did this training for our employees, we did this a year ago talking about these protocols, talking about the difference between a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant. A year ago, we were assuming that we were going to be interacting with federal law enforcement officers, that we're going to be upholding the same standards of professionalism and transparency that we've always seen with the Tucson Police Department or the Pima County Sheriff's Department or even the Phoenix Police Department when I used to work with them in my former role. For basic standards of professionalism that officers engage in every single day, identifying themselves, showing badges, presenting warrants, checking in at the front office. Disturbingly and sadly, a year later, we are no longer in that situation where we can make that assumption. So we did give guidance to all of our principals that any individual presenting themselves on our campus that is refusing to identify themselves, that have masks, that are refusing to provide a badge or give a name, no matter what uniform they have on, no matter what paper they're waving around and claim to have, they are at that point an unidentified intruder. And we have given the guidance and the directive to principals in that situation to lock the campus down. It is at that point no different than dealing with an intruder. We don't know without a badge. We don't know without identification. We don't know if this is somebody who is falsely impersonating a law enforcement official. We don't know what the intentions are. So the protocol in that situation would be for our principals to lock the campus down, for our students to go into that protocol, and at that point we will be notifying law enforcement, local law enforcement immediately to request their assistance in dealing with that situation. Hopefully, no principal, no school community will have to engage in that protocol, but sadly, we cannot take it off the table and have to make sure that every single principal and every single front office team understands very clearly what to do in that situation. We also talked about other areas of guidance. ICE access to student records is the same. We have the same expectation for access to student records as we would for physical presence on a campus. We need you to identify yourself. We need to see a badge. We need to see a judicial warrant in order to be able to release those records. We reviewed with our office managers and our front office teams, as well as all of our principals. We provided them physical copies and actual copies of what a judicial warrant looks like and what an administrative warrant looks like, and now we're only honoring those judicial warrants. We provided guidance on school parking lots and field trips with the very clear understanding that we want all of our parents to know and all of our principals and all of our employees know. Once students step onto our buses, it's like stepping onto campus. You are now under the protection of the Tucson Unified School District, so any federal enforcement, any federal immigration enforcement action would require the same protocol that we would ask on a campus. We want to see your face, we want to see a badge, identify yourself like any other law enforcement officer we deal with, and we want to see a judicial warrant. And so, as I mentioned before in the previous slide, when we do have potential for a federal law enforcement official refusing to show any type of ID, we are going to be treating that as an unauthorized, unidentified campus intruder and exercising a campus lockdown and calling for local law enforcement immediately for assistance. So we also, if we go to the next slide, I think that might be Yeah, okay, that's our last slide. We're also working with the Tucson Education Association. I want to thank President Jim Byrne, who is taking the lead for the Tucson Education Association, and our Director for Mexican American Student Services, Maria Federico Brummer, representing not only her department, but sort of the administration in that partnership. They're working together to put together what immigrant support teams would look like on each campus, as well as what resources we can compile as a school district and make easily available for families who have been impacted by any kind of federal immigration enforcement action. So with that, I can turn it over to board members. This is an agendized topic, so it is open for question and comment.
Governing board members, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you for the information, Dr. Trujillo. I do want to follow up about the Know Your Rights info that I requested at the last board meeting. We are in the process of printing out about 15,000 of those red cards in English, Spanish, and Arabic, and we're working to get another handout or mailer with all the other languages within our district to everyone. So not just the red cards, but hopefully, paper for everyone to take home. Oh. Thank you. And then just for your information, Dr. Trujillo, I didn't notice the Black History Month events as an attachment for this item, but you are able to find the calendar of events through the African American Student Services Department website. And it looks like there's some contests coming up for middle school students for a poem, art for our elementary school students, and then interdisciplinary art call for high school students. So do check that out. Thank you.
Ms. Ekstrom.
Dr. Trujillo, I just wanted to make sure that we were going to get more information out to parents as far as emergency contacts and other items that they need to provide to districts so that we can safely release a child in case they are unable to pick them up.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll just finally say here, I just want to thank TEA and all the folks who came to our last governing board meeting to really push on this issue and make sure this is something that our district was prioritizing on the communication, on the education, on the policy development. Timing was perfect with Professional Learning Day just around the corner from that meeting, so I'm glad we were able to use that effectively. Any other comments? Dr. Trujillo, anything else?
That concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Trujillo. I'll turn it over to my board colleague, Clerk Luna Rose, to lead us in our call to the audience.
All right. Thank you, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Members of the public may speak during the call to the audience. The governing board clerk shall be responsible for recognizing speakers and for maintaining order where it may be appropriate. Those who speak in person or want to have their comments read shall email or call the board office and complete a request to the Address the Board form before the meeting. Speakers who have not completed a request form are not permitted to address the board. The speaker must state their full name and a topic prior to addressing the board. Speakers are encouraged to be brief with a maximum time of 3 minutes. While more than one speaker may speak together in the time allowed, speakers are reminded they are not allowed to speak more than once, and they may not transfer or delegate their time to others. If there are documents for the board, please give them to the board office staff, and they will ensure each board member receives a copy. Those attending the meeting and or speaking before the board shall observe rules of good conduct. Speakers shall refrain from inappropriate or slanderous remarks. And because TUSD serves students from preschool through high school, speakers should be aware that there may be children present and listening. At the end of call of the audience, the governing board president will ask any board member if they wish to respond to a criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. No more than 2 board members may address each topic. And our first speaker this evening is Andy Morales.
Hello, my name is Andy Morales. I'm here to speak on behalf of renaming Cherry Field to Oscar Romero Field. I'm not a citizen of TUSD, but I'm a citizen of our community, having delivered thousands of tennis shoes to your elementary schools, and I honor your high school athletes almost every night. And hopefully soon, America Cazares will break the Southern Arizona scoring record, which is great for Latina from the South Side, and that's from your district. But I'm here to talk in case we have a rash of people get upset because we've been renaming things. Cherry Field is not really named at, well, Cherry Field is named after the original Cherry Field, which is on the U of A property, which is where the Mirror Lab is, where the old baseball stadium is. That was Cherry Field in the 1920s up to the 1930s. When you built this a place for your athletes to practice in 1947, you just adopted the name Cherry Field. So there really is no, it's not named after anybody, it's named after a street. So that's important to know. And there's precedent here because in 2000 you renamed Rollin Gridley, Badger football stadium to Rollin Gridley Field, and that was appropriate. And my friend Oscar, and I don't want to get emotional, but his 488 wins are roughly 1/3 of all the wins ever in Tucson High history, in 1,516 victories. He presented himself with honor. He taught his players to respect the game. And a lot of stuff has happened to that field. Interesting, 1948, the city wanted to take it away to put a basin, and that came back in 2008. You guys worked together. And I believe in 1995, the city took away six acres of that field. That's withstood the test of time, and I think Oscar is going to withstood the test of time. And we were robbed of having Oscar standing in the stands with gray hair watching future kids play. And I think it's very appropriate to rename it to Oscar Romero Field, and I think you were going to add Cherry Field on there. But there should be no controversy. It should be an easy thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Pilar Arahan.
Thank you. My name is Pilar Arahan, and the topic is renaming Davis Romero School. Distinguished members of the board, Dr. Gabriel Trujillo, on June 17, 2025, during the TUSD board meeting, the Davis Romero Committee requested your vote to approve Davis School's name change. And here with us we have Dr. Macario Saldate, Dr. Guerrero, and Dr. Valenzuela as members of the Davis Committee. And we also have Judy Romero, Dr. Romero's daughter. Thanks to your vote on June 17, Davis School proudly became Davis Romero Bilingual Elementary Magnet School, honoring the legacy of Dr. Guadalupe Guerrero Romero, a visionary leader in bilingual education. We want to express our gratitude to each one of you for voting yes in recognizing the impact Dr. Romero had in our school and community. Thank you, Dr. Trujillo, for your time, guidance, and support during the renaming process. We felt encouraged and energized every time we met with you. Gracias al señor Nicolás Román, you were our guiding light along the path. Your support, motivation, and encouragement uplifted our spirits. The renaming process started with a si se puede feeling, thanks to Señora Marisela Campillo, former Davis principal, and Señor Cruz Silva, parent of a Davis student, now Davis Romero School. Their support, time, and actions were monumental in the renaming process and allowed us to start, continue, and end with positive results. We thank Mr. Mark Alvarez for making it possible to contact Señora Campillo and start the renaming process. On November 14, we had a ceremony to celebrate the renaming of the school. That day, November the 14th, was also Dr. Romero's birthday, making this a very special day to remember. The Davis Romero Committee wants to present a token of appreciation to each one of you who made this historic event possible. So each one of you members of the board, Dr. Trujillo, will receive a certificate with your name, thanking you for everything you did. The vote, yes vote was monumental too. And on the back, you'll see an invitation and also the program to this wonderful event. So I want to present Marisela Campillo, our former principal, the certificate, and Señor Cruz Silva, the parent from Davis who was a key to have all this done. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Ms. Borboa will have a certificate for each one of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next is Cameron Rodriguez.
Thank you, board members. I'm Cameron Rodriguez, a teacher at Rincon High School, and I will speak on district concealment, compliance, and finances. 8 days ago, I notified administration of 2 ongoing state investigations into clear violations of Arizona law that involved TUSD and its insurer. But no brief on these investigations was placed on tonight's executive session agenda. Admin had 8 days' notice of pending investigations, but no brief for the board. Is this kind of material concealment normal? From now on, we'll know. In the last week alone, the state of Arizona has documented TUSD breaking the law 3 separate times. Countless open meeting law violations going back years, currently being frantically backfilled. Casually blowing workers' compensation deadlines with an air of reckless incompetence. And then several glaring statutory reporting failures confirmed by the Industrial Commission. 1 claim, 2 investigations, same people. After the Auditor General's report last meeting, I took the liberty of reviewing TUSD's municipal bond disclosures in EMMA and have taken note of omissions that place the district's A+ Fitch rating at real risk. MSRB Rule 15C212 requires certain disclosures of material events to bondholders that TUSD is not keeping up with. Not great. The bottom line is you can't protect students from ICE if you can't keep the district out of receivership. I will end with some questions. Is loyalty to this particular administration worth higher insurance premiums, a lower credit rating, and the collapse of public trust? Is it worth making TUSD's already fragile financial position worse? Can this district really afford litigation costs fighting a disabled pro se teacher trying to get an MRI? How is this helpful? I actually do love TUSD for all of its faults. Is it too much to ask that our administration demonstrate the same love and care for the district? Is it too much to ask that it puts the district before egos? That taxpayer money not be spent shielding lazy, expensive incompetence from oversight? I do not expect any answers, obviously, not even one. But I am more than open to being wrong and admitting it. I found that it is a useful skill, personally. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Lillian Fox.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what he said. My name's Lillian Fox, Superintendent Trujillo, Chairman, President Shaw, members of the board, and Yolanda Borboa. Okay, here's where we are. TUSD sucks. We are the next to the worst district academically in this area. We are the next to the worst big district. A lot of it is because we have a 34% chronic truancy. I know you've heard this before, but he doesn't hear it. He doesn't have a strategy for doing anything about the chronic absenteeism. Until you do something about that, you're going to be awful. Your enrollment is declining because you're uncompetitive. The east side schools are hurt the most because they're up against 3 outstanding school districts. People don't buy houses in East Tucson if they can get one in one of the good districts. People who live in Tucson on the east side send their kids to those school districts because they are so much better than TUSD is. There's no excuse for TUSD being so bad. Our kids are at least as smart as those good school district kids are. It's nothing to do with the kids' intelligence. It's everything to do with the incompetence of this district. We're uncompetitive for multiple reasons. I won't run through them, but they're all pretty obvious. They're either based on the student and teacher surveys that say your schools are filthy, bullying rates are very high, and classroom disruption is a real problem. You have no strategy to do anything about the chronic truancy, and no strategy whatsoever to improve educational outcomes. How in the world could you renew for 3 years a superintendent who has no strategy to deal with major problems this district has? It is unbelievable to me. Furthermore, you don't have the expertise you need in your CFO. He has no training, no experience that qualifies him to be the CFO of an organization that has a budget of almost $800 million and something like 7,000 employees. You are extremely high risk. Out of the 270 districts in Arizona, you're in the top 9 for financial risk. That is going to cost you millions of dollars and additional costs to get those bonds out. You've got, I don't remember, it's in one of the handouts here, $454 million of bonds you want to put out. You've only done like 40 million of them. You're going to pay through the nose. And you don't have the expertise you need in leadership here. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. This is your bond committee agenda that you're approving tonight. There's no plan to do anything about academic
Time is up. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next is Jade Sims.
Good evening to you all. I don't have any special labels. I'm just a parent. Don't know how much that means to you all, but my son attends Tolson Elementary. So because I can get emotional over this, I'm gonna just read it from my phone, if that's okay with you all. A little bit more? Better? Okay. So, good evening. My name is Jade Sims, and I'm the parent of a student at Tolson Elementary, and I'm here because on February 5th, my son was physically assaulted by his teacher during class, resulting in a head injury, in which case he hit his head on the base of a dry erase board metal brace bar that's at the base of that board. He was evaluated by the school nurse after this took place. While a head injury report was issued, it did not accurately document how the injury occurred, the time the injury occurred, and the district's response has raised serious concerns regarding student safety, documentation accuracy, and accountability. Since this incident, my son has experienced fear and anxiety related to school and authority figures, missed important school activities, his first elementary school dance, Valentine's dance, he didn't attend, and now requires ongoing support to restore his sense of safety in the learning environment. My concern extends beyond the conduct of one teacher to the institutional response that followed, including incomplete documentation and a lack of transparent communication, which places students at risk and exposes the district to liability. I am respectfully requesting an independent review of this incident and the document process, confirmation of corrective action taken to ensure student safety, and a written response outlining the steps the district will implement to prevent a similar incident from occurring in the future. After this took place on February 5th, the teacher was removed, suspended, put on home leave while they, I guess, reviewed what took place because it wasn't an investigation. He was then placed back in the classroom today without me being notified with the same teacher. As someone who's been molested as a child, the last thing you want to do is send your kid back to the uncle that molested them. I visited the district, I filed complaints, and needless to say, whether my son is doing fine and resilient today, a month from now, a year from now, he could suffer neurological disorders, not to mention his trauma that he'll have to now be therapeutically, resuscitated from. And I desire justice. And I think this is just as important as ICE coming into the schools, because you got teachers in there acting like ICE. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Edgar Soto.
Good evening, Chair, Dr. Shaw, members of the board, Superintendent Trujillo. First of all, I want to thank you all for the amazing TUSD education I did get. I went to Tucson High School, and one of the best experience I've ever had in TUSD. And currently I work at Pima Community College. I'm a vice president, but was also in other capacities. And we always really appreciate our students from the Tucson Unified School District and how the ones that we've had are really prepared and doing well. But I'm here tonight to speak of my former high school baseball coach, Oscar Romero. And I want to respectfully encourage a yes vote on naming the baseball field after Oscar Romero, who dedicated over 30 years at Tucson High, not just as a student, because he graduated from there, but he also left a lasting impact, not just on the players, but on the community. And for me personally, he was far more than a coach. He was a mentor, a steady presence, and someone I could always count on. He's the reason I became a coach. He actually gave me my first job in 1992 as his JV baseball coach. And the lessons he taught about discipline, character, accountability, and caring for people, I've carried with me my entire life and passed on to my own children and every athlete I've coached. Naming this field in his honor would be a powerful and fitting tribute to his legacy and a meaningful honor for his family and generations of students to come. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And Dr. Shaw, we have one letter to be read. Good evening, board members. I am writing today to express my concerns and request assistance in the planning and preparation for receiving students with visual and hearing impairments within TUSD, as we lose a valuable and essential community resource within the Arizona State School for the Deaf and Blind. As ASDB is planning to move out of Tucson to dissolve some of its services for our students that are blind and have significant support needs, TUSD's ExEd and vision services in particular will be strained beyond sustainability with an influx in caseloads, a reduced budget for materials, and insufficient staffing. As teachers of visually impaired and itinerant providers for TUSD, there's been no communication or transparency from Exceptional Education Leadership, or ASDB. In order to sufficiency plan, prepare, train, staff, equip classrooms or school sites with appropriate tools and technology, and best meet the needs of students with visual and hearing impairments and their families, we need to bring all parties to the table and develop a transition plan in response to losing such a large resource. Please extend resources, funding, staffing, and communications efforts to our Exceptional Education Department and Vision and Hearing Services in particular. I appreciate your guidance, consideration, and continued support of our students with diverse needs. Thank you for your time. Erin Tremaine, teacher of students with visual impairments to TUSD Exceptional Education. And that concludes Call of the Audience. Dr. Shaw.
Thank you, Clerk Luna Rose. Now our governing board has the opportunity to respond to criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Reminder that no more than 2 members may legally address each topic. Ms. Shaw, then Ms. Luna Rose.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all those who came to speak today. To Mr. Rodriguez, we are briefed outside of exec individually, but thank you for coming to the board meeting and debriefing us as well. For the comments from Ms. Fox, I would like to ask that staff come to the board meeting with their strategy for chronic truancy. As you know, we do have a serious issue with that, and we are losing some years up to $15 million due to this truancy issue. I appreciate everyone coming to speak. For Oscar Romero and the renaming of that field, I will certainly be voting yes on that item. For Ms. Sims, I sincerely apologize to what happened to your son. I'm sorry that sounds like we mishandled the situation, and I'm sorry you had to even come here today to put us on notice about that. I would like to ask staff to give us a full report on this incident. I would also like to see an independent review of how this incident was handled and why the disciplinary actions or lack thereof for this teacher is not as severe as it should be. With that, thank you.
Ms. Luna Rose?
Thank you. And thank you everybody for coming this evening. I would like to bounce off Ms. Shaw, Dr. Trujillo, and looking into the issue with Ms. Sims and her son. See if we can get a report to the board and on what that outcome will be. So Ms. Sims, thank you. I know it's not always easy to come to a full room. You can always tell when people are shaky and they're coming up, and I know this is a very emotional issue for you, so thank you for coming this evening. Also, Dr. Trujillo, if we can also get on a future agenda, I know that there's a lot of moving parts concerning ASDB and what is happening with the elimination of that facility, and I know it's thrown a lot of parents' lives upside down for their children. So if we could get I know it's not necessarily always all of what's going on with TUSD, but more of what's coming from the state, if we can get an update on that. And just as a personal note, and I do appreciate everybody coming to give comment, but I too attended TUSD schools, and I'm a graduate of Rincon High School, and I had a great education, and I don't particularly, and if I thought TUSD sucked, I wouldn't have sent my daughter here. So don't particularly appreciate those type of comments, because I think they're hurtful and divisive, and can bring people down when they're trying to not only bring their children to our schools, but the employees who are working hard. We do have our problems as any other large entity, but those type of comments don't help. And lastly, thank you all the speakers for Mr. Romero. I'm looking forward to voting on that this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Romero?
Just one thing. Well, I was going to do two things, but now I can only do one thing. Thanks, Natalie. Chronic truancy. I think again I want to second Ms. Shaw's take on that one. Also revisiting chronic absenteeism, because I know they do go hand in hand. So maybe coming up with a new study session or another opportunity to relook into that as far as strategy, I think would be great for us as a district. Thank you, Dr. Chu.
Any other comments? I'll just conclude by saying we have 4 parents here who choose TUSD for our schools, and we do not think TUSD schools suck. Next on the agenda, we'll be going to item 6.4, I believe. Dr. Trujillo? Let me get that pulled up here. Sorry, with the new diligence system, it's not as easy. So approval to rename Cherry Field Complex to Oscar Romero Ballpark at Cherry Field.
Yeah, this is a very special moment for us here at the governing board meeting. I know in the moment we're gonna welcome Principal John Lanza to kind of introduce this item, but the Tucson Unified School District is one of Arizona's oldest school districts. It originally was a territorial school district created in 1867, and throughout the last 140 or 50 years, it's been filled with amazing educators, exceptional personalities that have influenced thousands of students through their service as principals, as teachers, as counselors, as coaches, as art directors, theater directors. But in the history of Tucson High, there are a few names that loom larger in its history, not just with baseball, but in its history of championing not only athletic excellence, but academic excellence and personal excellence. There are a few names that loom larger than Coach Oscar Romero. And it's not about the 488 wins. That's one of the best records in the state. It's not about how many games he won, but it was his love for the students. It was his belief in every student athlete that he coached. Not that they were going to go on and play in the majors, but that they were going to live their best lives. And that while they were under his care, they were going to learn how to be disciplined, how to be organized, how to be prepared, how to be professional, how to be respectful, how to be young men and women and go out and make an impact in the world. Sadly, my first year as a superintendent, I had an opportunity to visit Coach and to go to one of his games. It was one of his last year's coaching. I only regret that I didn't spend more time visiting with him through the years. But we have an opportunity here tonight to honor him and his legacy to what he meant to Badger Nation. So to get things started, I want to bring on our interim principal, Mr. John Lanza, to introduce this item. And of course, we have his family here this evening who will also make their request. Mr. Lanza?
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. Governing Board President Shaw, Governing Board members, Superintendent Trujillo, Council Ross, and community members. I'm here tonight to request that the Governing Board consider renaming the Cherry Field baseball field to the Oscar Romero Ballpark at Cherry Field in honor of Coach Oscar Romero. Coach Romero passed away on September 6th of last year, and this renaming aims to recognize Coach Romero's profound and enduring impact over 4 decades on Arizona's athletic community and specifically to Tucson High School. An alumnus of Tucson High School, Coach Romero earned All-City, All-State, and All-District honors in 1978, and then returned to his alma mater, Tucson High, to teach from 1985 to 2018, 34 full years. Coach Romero served as the head baseball coach from 1990 to 2018, and his coaching achievements included holding an overall record of 488 wins, 300 losses, and 3 ties, winning 2 state championships, one in 1987 and the next in 1988. He also led 3 more teams to the AIA State Baseball Finals, so appearing 5 finals in total. He was named the statewide AIA Coach of the Year award on 4 different occasions, and he served as the head coach for 3 5A Arizona State All-Star games. Coach Romero was inducted in Pima County Sports Hall of Fame, to the Tucson High Alumni Tea Club, to the Tucson High Badger Foundation Hall of Fame, and in 2015 was recognized in the Arizona Daily Star Greg Hansen Top 100 Sports Figures as number 58. Beyond his coaching statistics, Coach Romero's legacy is defined by his extensive mentorship and positive influence. He consistently organized clinics and offered comprehensive support to his students, emphasizing their academic and personal growth. He acted as a mentor, role model, and father figure, shaping the character of hundreds of players. Naming the baseball field in his honor would be a meaningful and enduring tribute to his outstanding contributions and a continual reminder of his significant impact. Members of his family and the Tucson community are here to say a few words, and I'd like to begin by introducing Joanne Romero, his widow.
Hello. My name is Joanne Romero, and Oscar's my husband. Oscar and I met at Tucson High, where we were high school sweethearts. These early years shaped so much of who we became, and Tucson High has always held a special place in our hearts. From a young age, Oscar loved baseball. It was never just a game to him. It was a teacher, a passion, a way to connect with others. His dream was always to play baseball first, and then later in life to coach. He became the head baseball coach at Tucson High in 1990. He believed deeply in this school, in its students, and the lessons that could be learned both on and off the field. Oscar poured his heart into the game, but even more than that, he poured his heart into people, his students, their parents. He believed that baseball could teach discipline, respect, teamwork, and perseverance, values that carried for beyond the field. He cared about who his parents were. He cared about who his players were becoming, not just how they performed. If this field is named after him, we will feel truly humbled. I just lost my place. If this field is named after him, we will feel truly humbled and deeply honored. To our family, this field represents not only his love for baseball, but his lifelong commitment to community, mentorship, and giving back to the place that gave him so much. My hope is that this field continues to be a place where people grow, not just as athletes, but as individuals, a place where young people learn what it means to work hard, to lift one another up, and to show up for each other in both victory and in defeat. May this field always reflect his spirit. Oscar lived by passion, kindness, dedication, and love for the game and for people. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Becky Romero Watson, his sister.
Good evening, Dr. Shaw, Dr. Trujillo, and the current TUSD board members. My name is Becky Romero Watson. I am Oscar Romero's youngest sister. On behalf of Oscar's family, extended family, and friends, I would like to express our deepest gratitude for accepting the proposal to rename Cherry Field to include Oscar Romero's name. The designation of Oscar Romero Ballpark at Cherry Field is deeply meaningful to our family and serves a lasting tribute to a life dedicated to education, student development, community service, and athletics. Your thoughtful consideration and support mean more than we can adequately express. It will be a privilege to see Oscar's name alongside our historic Cherry Field, home of the champions of Tucson High Badgers. Oscar's connection to Cherry Field spanned decades. He played there as a student athlete, later served on the committee during its most recent renovations, devoted countless hours to maintaining the field during times when budget constraints eliminated dedicated staffing. While serving as head coach at Tucson High School, he voluntarily assumed additional responsibilities to ensure the field met the highest standards. He carried out his work without complaint, motivated solely by his commitment to students and the program he loved. Cherry Field was truly Oscar's second home. His presence there, often marked by his red truck parked nearby, was a testament to his dedication as a husband, father, educator, coach, and mentor. Following his passing, our family was deeply moved by the endless stories shared by former students and athletes. These stories reflected not only his excellence as a coach and a teacher, but also his profound impact as a mentor who supported young people through academic, personal, and family challenges. His influence extended far beyond the field, shaping lives in lasting and meaningful ways. We hope this dedication inspires all who pass through the gates of Cherry Field to carry forward the same values you have chosen to honor. Seeing Oscar's name became part of a place where young people learn teamwork, perseverance, and community, meaning more to us than we can fully express. Ball fields are a place of growth, connection, and lifelong memories, and is incredibly meaningful to know that this legacy will live on in a space that brings people together so positively. Thank you again for your time, your leadership, your commitment to preserving the legacy of Oscar Romero, who made a lasting impact on the Tucson community and beyond. Your decision not only honors his memory, but also affirms the values of dedication, service, and community that defined his life. With sincere appreciation, the entire Oscar Romero family. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite one of Oscar's former players and coaches, Marcos Bejarano.
Good evening, TUSD board, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on Oscar's behalf. I've known Oscar probably since I was 10 years old, and I got the opportunity to become the bat boy for the 1987 and 1988 state championship baseball teams for Tucson High. It was an opportunity that I couldn't think of wanting to be at any other high school, and that's where I graduated from in 1992, along with my parents, who graduated in 1958, 1959, 2 of my sons in 2019, 2022, and 1 to be in 2027, along with my wife in 1996. So the tradition of being along Oscar's side, not only as a student, but as a young man, as his teacher's aide in high school at Tucson High, goes a long way with a lot of the life lessons that Oscar taught us and taught me. Badger pride, I'm proud to be TUSD. I'm proud to be a TUSD teacher, and I've been a longtime coach in the district. For the passing of Oscar, very difficult for me because I spent a lot of time with Coach Romero. Matter of fact, I wish I could get that Saturday night phone call. Marcos, what are you doing? Oscar, you know I'm in Hawaii. Dude, no, you're not. Oscar, what time do I meet you at Cherry Field? We spent endless hours working on that beautiful field, which is what the district has as a premier baseball field in the state of Arizona. Countless hours that I spent with O. I also became a colleague of his, a teacher. Countless lunches, hanging out with Oscar, him mentoring me, guiding me, not only as a young man, but as an adult, as a husband, as a father. So I was honored when Becky and Joanne called me last night and told me, hey, can you come in honor of Oscar? It would mean the world to not only me, but to several young men that he touched their lives. And why not? Choya High School is named after Rudy Gallego. Rincon is named after Gary Graybosch. Saguaro is named after Hal Eustace. They don't have nearly the state titles that Tucson High has. We have a national record of 29, and Oscar Romero was part of that. And by the way, I was a freshman in 1989 when he started his coaching career as a head coach at Tucson High. What an honor it would be for my son, my youngest now, to graduate from Tucson High next year in 2027 to be playing at a field named after my mentor. Thank you for your time.
And finally, a lifelong friend, Charlie Riesco.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo, Dr. Shah, and the rest of the board. I have known Oscar since I was 7 years old. He was 8 years old. And the most fortunate guy in the world is me because I got to be on the same team as our team captain, being Oscar Romero, from that age all the way through Little League, Pony League, Colt League, Legion, and all through high school and junior high where we won championships. And I'll tell you that the one thing about Oscar Romero, he never changed from the age of, I would say, 12 to his current age before he died. He's the same person he always was. The character that he had, when Joanne mentioned they were high school sweethearts, I referred to him in a comedic way, but it was truthful. Oscar was the Hispanic version of Opie Taylor on Mayberry, okay? He was pure. This guy was pure. And there was no question about it. It was right or it was wrong. There was no middle ground with him. Keep in mind, the players that he coached in Tucson High for all those years, Tucson High is not going to have the most affluent families providing for these kids. A lot of these children, Oscar was their father. He was the adult that they were asking questions to about being an adult. It was not just about coaching. And when you think about baseball, there's going to be 25, 30 players on that team. 9 get to play on that team, which means you're going to have parents of the others that aren't in that game. Well, they're not real happy. So he has to deal with those just as every other coach has to deal with it. Teachers, we all know they're underpaid. They work so many hours and not enough pay. Well, Oscar did 2 things. He taught and then he coached. The coaching goes into the weekends, it goes into the evenings, and it continues through the summers where nobody pays attention because he wants to keep the guys together to make them a better team the following year. That's why he was so successful. He put in all that time. And keep in mind, again, we're talking about the players that don't have the funds to do that. And being one of his friends that just loved him dearly, I've been in business now for about 36 years. It was not unusual to get that phone call from Oscar, and of course I could never say no when he said, we need a little bit of cash to help us out on something. We're going to travel to play a team for a championship. It was always for championships. It was never just for a practice or anything like that. Rarely did I get that call, but occasionally someone needed equipment that is required. And this is something that when we played high school, we were provided with 3 sets of uniforms, hats, practice uniforms. Today, these players in every sport are asked to pay a fee, because I'm still doing that in the high school area to help out with some coaches that just because there's an East Side high school that I'm near, it doesn't mean they have money. They don't. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of single moms out there with kids. And these coaches right now, when you put into the hours that they're putting into the coaching, I was joking with Oscar one time with the hours. And when I did that with the years, I think the hourly pay for his coaching might have come to almost $2 an hour. And that's just the real truth right there. They're not going to get overpaid being a coach. He coached because he loved the game, but he loved the fact that the discipline he instilled in these kids, not just about the sport, it was about their future. It was about their lives. And the conversations that we had, the confidence that they had with the discipline, he knew they had a chance. And I've seen a lot of these baseball players that he has coached. You look at Edgar Soto, one of them, highly successful after high school. We have Mr. Morales right here talking about sports. No one distributes more information about what's going on with sports than this guy right here. If it was not for him, we all know the newspaper's not what it used to be. That guy is making it for a lot of kids that people don't know about. So I credit him, I credit Edgar and all the others that spoke right here about the discipline that's required here, about what the courage was to actually do this, not spending dinners with your families. I know pizzas, burgers, whatever it took with his family, and that is one tight knit that kept together with that father being a coach. And Joanne, there's no bigger ambassador for a husband than that woman back there. She went through it all and stayed like this together with that husband the entire way. And I'm sorry I had to be there with him the night before, but I'm also glad, and I feel just blessed that I was able to, say a prayer with him that he asked me to do, and knowing that he was on his deathbed. This guy is not asking to put his name on a field. This guy's way too humble. Never did he want to be in the spotlight. For his family, I've reminded his son of the legacy that he's probably not aware of until we were at the services. If anybody was there, I reminded people, just ask them, stand up if you've ever coached with this guy. And people stood up. Stand up if he ever coached you. People stood up. Stand up if you ever played with this gentleman right here. And I'm telling you, I just, my heart was falling down when I looked at all the people out there where I asked his son, turn around. That's what I was telling you when I met, there's a legacy behind this guy. And to leave this legacy on the rise, and just at the tip of this is naming that field after this gentleman right here, and he is a gentleman, I promise you that. Talk to anybody that knows him, and you're not gonna find a bad word about this gentleman right here. Do this, vote for it, encourage this, because he truly deserves it, whether he didn't want it or not. Do it for his family, do it for the team players that have played for him through all these 36 years, and do it for his family. I thank you all.
Thank you all for speaking. So on behalf of the Tucson High School and Romero family, I respectfully ask that the TUSD Governing Board rename Cherry Field as the Oscar Romero Ballpark.
Dr. Shaw?
Thank you, Principal Lanza. Ms. Ekstrom.
Thank you to all who came and spoke today. It's really moving to hear all of your stories and what a great person Oscar Romero was. I had cousins who were able to learn from him and move on and really hone in on their baseball skills. And just thinking about that, it makes me smile, because I realize what an impact he had on, my cousins and family. And in TUSD, we do a lot of great things, but today is a day that we're able to cement a legacy for a father, for a husband, for a brother, for a coach, and a friend. And I'm so honored to be able to do that today. So with that, I would like to move to approve the renaming of Cherry Baseball Field to Oscar Romero Ballpark at Cherry Field.
Thank you, Ms. Ekstrom. And as a soon to be a father of a Badger student, I will second that. Any further comments? Mr. Romero?
Again, very moving. Wish I knew the guy. There's a lot of beautiful Romeros in this room, obviously. And I don't want the conspiracy theory to start. I did not have anything to do with Davis Romero or Oscar Romero Field. It was not my intent. But no, it was great to hear from the families today. I just wanted to say I think we have a great opportunity to remember him on a daily basis for those that drive by that field and lace up and play.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board, are we in the mood for a quick break? Seeing some nods. All right, we'll break for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, please. And we'll get back to the meeting. Thank you.
the recommendation.
Yeah, I don't think we've met. John Lanza. I think my job last year was overseeing federal programs for TUSD. And I think I reached out to you because you're with Yaki, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, doing their educational.
Correct, yeah.
Right, yep. I would always head up the consultations.
Oh, perfect.
So we got somebody else.
Great, when they call my name earlier.
I hopped in this room.
Yeah, well. It's a good place, it's a good place.
Yeah, yeah, it sure is.
Back in,
It worked out. It worked out.
16 it was, and I was at Pueblo and won this position.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Well,
Hey, thank you guys. Great job. Yeah. Yeah, so Miss Silvis, she got in touch with Jen. I don't think I missed on that.
What's up, big dude? How are you, man? Hey, thank you for the kind words.
thank you both again.
The first time through that video was like, it's just amazing. All the options there.
That's what I feel like. Thank you.
Good, yeah, and they had, I think you already had your assistant. So yeah, okay. Cool. All right, get back. Thank you for being here tonight. Governing board members, 1 minute warning.
One more minute.
Governing board members, we're ready to get reconvened for our meeting.
They're getting food. Everybody's hungry. Leave us alone.
And then he goes in there.
It was like, let us alone, we're hungry.
She's still outside, I told her. All right, we're going to get started with item 8.2, I believe. 8.1. All right, 8.1, this is a study information item, renewal of employee benefits for the 2026-27 fiscal year. And again, this is just a study information item, no decisions or votes are being made today.
President Shaw, members of the governing board, benefits, always a difficult conversation, and we're excited to have the opportunity to share some of the recommendations, the thoughts, and the strategies that were discussed and shared with the Employee Benefits Trust Board. It probably will not surprise anybody out there in the viewing public to know that the cost of healthcare in general has just skyrocketed for employees and providers across the nation. I will remind everybody that this board has done an exceptional job protecting employees from any increases over the last 5 years, and our Employee Benefits Trust Board has done a wonderful job releasing monies from the trust to be able to protect the employees from those increases hitting premiums. But this year we face a daunting challenge. The overall cost of providing benefits to our employees has gone up by 13%, with our employees potentially looking at an increase, a substantial increase. And so that was a challenge laid forth before our Employee Benefits Trust Board, and Mr. Fernandez, our Chief Human Capital Officer, will kind of take us through this evening that discussion and ultimately what was the recommendation for Employee Benefits Trust to bring before the board before consideration. Mr. Fernandez?
All right, thank you. Good evening, President Shaw and members of the board. Before I get started, if I could just quickly introduce the folks who are here today. So I'm joined by Ricky Hernandez, our CFO, representatives from Valley Schools who we partner with around benefits. I have Mr. Ken Hicks, Mr. Alves Becerra, and Ms. Sarah Villegas, and then also Rosie Ledesma behind me, who is our benefits manager within our HR department. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to review the proposed benefits renewal for next school year. Dr. Trujillo, I kind of gave you a little teaser as to what the presentation's about today, but I wanted to kind of walk through it to make sure that for the general public, kind of an understanding of what was approved by the Benefits Trust and what is before the board for its consideration, not for action this evening, but hopefully in a coming meeting. So just to sum up for our general renewal information, as you know, the Employee Benefits Trust is the entity created by the governing board to manage the employee benefits for the district, and TUSD works with Valley Schools to do this. Valley Schools is an Arizona nonprofit corporation established by state law to assist districts with health insurance plans for employees. And we've been working with Valley to access medical and pharmaceutical benefits through United Healthcare and Caremark, otherwise known as CVS. I think in summary, when we get to the end of the presentation, you'll see that the EBT, the Employee Benefits Trust, approved a renewal of our existing health plan with 3 plan options. That's our PPO and our 2 high deductible plans. And this renewal cost at the bottom, the bottom line will be an increase of 12.3% over prior years, an additional $5.8 million. I wanted to, and again, for public consumption, because I know that employees are very interested in understanding what's happening, talk a little bit about the medical cost trends that we are encountering. Over the past couple of years, what we've seen, really an increase in post-COVID contract renewals. So, during COVID, we saw some of these contract rates kind of held flat. We're now seeing the renewal period resulting in higher costs as these contracts are renegotiated. We also see our high-cost claims coming in. You'll see that in the last 2024-2025 period, 138 high-cost claimants, which is about 2.3% of the population, accounted for 42.7% of total costs. It's about $18 million. So we're seeing a lot of those high-cost claims coming in. And, again, we have a population that is undergoing many challenges in terms of our health conditions, circulatory, cancer, a lot of healthcare situations that require specialty care and high-cost treatment. So I think the health of our population combined with these claims and those contract renewals are contributing to these higher costs, and we're not the only ones facing these challenges. Same thing on the pharmaceutical side, just high-cost new drugs that are coming on the market, whether it's specialty drugs for cancer, arthritis, seizures, multiple sclerosis, or these GLP-1s that everybody's raving about. These cost money, and they're driving up costs. We do hope that and do see that they provide better health outcomes, but again, as a new drug comes on the market, we're seeing those costs go higher. And while we benefit from pharmaceutical rebates, this is obviously predicated on a growing utilization of these medications, and it's also a moving target, trying to predict, trying to understand how these rebates will come into play as we try to manage our plans. So with the higher medical pharmaceutical trends, we also are in a changing benefits financial landscape. And so as Dr. Trujillo said, and thanks to the board, we've been able to subsidize and keep employee premiums flat for the past 4 fiscal years. This was funded by federal dollars as well as drawdowns from our trust reserves. So those were the ESSER dollars that were here initially, and then looking at any excess from the trust beyond the minimally required trust reserve amounts, which is about 6 months of anticipated claims. Those funds, however, are no longer available. So federal funds, as everyone knows, have expired, and reserves projected for the end of this year are going to be close to that minimally required 6 month of claims level, which is around $20 million. So in this context, the Employee Benefits Trust came together to look at the next school year's plan. There had been some questions about looking at different plan design. So the trust did work to get those different different designs costed out through Valley Schools. And ultimately, after reviewing the trade-offs that were involved, opted to stay with the current 3 plans that we currently offer, which are, again, the PPO and the 2 high deductibles. So with that said, as I summarized before, that cost is an additional 12.3% growth, $5.8 million. And like I said, not anticipating that there will be sufficient subsidy for sufficient reserve amounts to fund another subsidy. And so here's a kind of the layout of the 3 different strategies. We looked at our current plan, which is the recommended plan, that currently costs TUSD $4 million. Of the increase, to maintain that plan going to next school year, it would be an additional $4 million that TUSD as a district, as the employer, would fund. The employee share would be an additional $1.8 million. We looked at maintaining the high deductible plans of no PPO. That amount would be an additional $8 million to the district, and $0.8 million increase to employees. So the district would have an anticipated, twice the amount to fund that program. No high deductible plan, which would be a negative, would not be any growth to the district, but employees would face an $8.5 million increase. So looking at all the options, the trust opted to stick with our current 3 plans. I mean, part of the discussion was about who bears the cost of these design options, but also considering any of the disruption that might be involved to require employees to switch from one plan to another, from this school year to next school year. So ultimately, this is what the proposed premium strategies looks like for next school year. I'll just lay it out straight. I mean, it looks like we're projecting a premium increase of approximately 30% for employees based on what they were paying this year versus the coming school year. And again, for the coming school year, because there is no subsidy involved, what's happening is that premiums are being paid at the level that would normally be paid without any contribution from the reserves or other funding sources. So while this is a significant jump, I think it does merit mentioning that, again, the board has helped to offset those increases over the last 4 years. So now it's almost like truing up the cost of the employee side. The district will continue to pay the 2/3, of the costs, but the employee share will be the biggest challenge and adjustment for the coming school year. This is just a summary again of the financial projections based on the recommendation from the EBT. You'll see that the subsidies, looking back over the last 3 years, totaled about $2.2 million. For FY27, the coming year, that amount is from EBT is not recommended to be another subsidy. We look at the reserves. We try to project to the end of the year. The year-end projection is $20.6 million. We're calculating 6-month minimum required reserve at $20.2 million. So there's kind of $400,000 in excess of that minimum required level, but certainly not sufficient to support the subsidies that we've done in the past. So that was really the main gist of this presentation. And I'm going to mention the fact that we do have other benefits that are provided to our employees, and you'll see some of the changes for the dental plans, where we see a decrease in the Delta Dental plan versus and the HMO, where we see a 5% increase. Additionally, no changes in the other plans as we see it today, which are include vision, some of our disability life critical illness, accident plans, our legal plan support. So no changes in those areas. But of course, the major issue here and focus here is to really to inform you of the change to the medical plan approach in terms of subsidies and the impact on employee premiums. So with that, we know that this is study information. We know that you will be waiting for a future board meeting for potential action, and we thank you for your consideration and approval. We do want to get to a decision by the end of February if possible, because our open enrollment happens in April. So we're going to need some direction and guidance so we can make sure open enrollment is, runs smoothly this year. So with that said, I think that's the end of the presentation. Happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fernandez, and thank you, everyone, for Valley Schools for being here in Tucson for this. Ms. Luna Rose is our board liaison to Employee Benefits Trust. Do you want to talk more about what discussion in the meetings and some of the decisions that were made?
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. So I, excuse me, was able to kind of just go off a lot of notes that Mr. Fernandez would give me, because sometimes my schedule precluded me from going to the meetings. But I do know that there was a lot of back and forth on this, and a lot of kind of heart-wrenching discussion on whether, having to raise up the rates for these, and I know that nobody liked doing that. So it's I think it really weighs on the mind of everybody in the EBT. So I want to thank them for all this work that they've done, because this is not an easy process, and I think it's kind of where we are. I think not just here in TUSD, but I think across the board, like across the country, people are seeing outrageous rates. And until this nation gets its act together and put together like a universal health care plan or something like that, we have to figure it out on our own. Again, commend EBT for all their work. Mr. Fernandez, thank you so much for everything that, leading those discussions, and knowing that this might make some changes for some of our employees and their families. So, and trying to keep them in mind. I know it's, like I said, they were difficult discussions. So I'll open it back up to my colleagues for any comment.
Thank you, Ms. Luna Rose. I'm going to ask a quick question about how we as a district support the HSA accounts. Do we contribute to those right now, and how much are we contributing to those accounts?
So right now we contribute about we contribute $60 to every health savings account. Comes out to about $100 a month. So that is currently our contribution.
So $1,200 a year.
So $1,200 a year, okay, to all of the employees who are participants in the high deductible health plans.
Okay. And there's no changes recommended on that?
There were no changes recommended to the HSAs, no.
Okay. Ms. Ekstrom, are you moving because you have a comment? Okay. So I think this is really weighty. I know there's not a lot of comments on this really important issue. I think we're just trying to digest a lot of this information. I've been really happy that over the last 5 years since our first term, for three of us at least on this board, we have been able to have these cost increases without having to move any of these cost increases onto our employees. At first, it was the COVID relief ESSER funds. We were able to move some of these costs for health insurance premium increases into the ESSER funds, and then when the ESSER funds finished in 2024, we were able to use the extra funds that were available in the trust itself. And so as we know, we need to have a 6 month of funds available at any given time. So the trust needs to have 6 months of our projected costs in the bank, and we had more than those 6 months, and we were able to use that extra money in the bank that we had to subsidize the premium increases for the last couple of years since the COVID relief money went away. And that's being exhausted as well. So we should be almost break even on that 6 month window come end of this academic year. And I'm glad we were able to use that money in the EBT and was able to approve that and coming to the board with that the last couple of years. And now we need to figure out what to do moving forward, because from what I understand, the trust is still going to subsidize the previous cost. It's the 12% increase that we're talking about, or No.
No, the entire, so we're passing back on to the employee the 2 million that we've been subsidizing, plus the increase in the 12% from the year to year over in the plan. So it's essentially, as John mentioned, catching everybody up to where they should be had no subsidy had ever existed.
Okay, so there's no more funds available for any kind of subsidy?
Correct.
If you keep that 6 month, that's a requirement that we have. That's a legal requirement? Or just
That is in the trust charter.
in the trust charter, okay. Mm. So I think we'll continue to digest this over the weeks ahead. I believe this is gonna be coming back to us on March 10th for more. Yeah, Dr. Trujillo?
A quick point of clarification. So when we look at the proposed premium adjustments, my understanding is that the Employee Benefits Trust Board, they actually did consider maybe looking at 2 other potential options. What would it look like cost-wise if we went with absolutely no PPO, and then everybody just had 2 HDHT plans, and we maybe possibly adjusted HSA, or we got rid of the HDHT plans and everybody just went PPO? So in a nutshell, are we saying that EBTB, all things considered, this one is probably the least of all evils? Keeping all of the 3 tiers, and that we're passing on the 1.8 increase to the employees.
Right, from a financial perspective, yeah. So ultimately, you're exactly right. It's picking the lesser of all evils, right? The PPO essentially benefits employees more in terms of out-of-pocket premium costs. It obviously changes the way that they manage their insurance, considering that, they won't have that same PPO kind of copay type structure that they currently have. Whereas the high deductible health plan, by eliminating that, it saves the district more money because we are no longer contributing to health savings account, which is the largest, kind of savings. But employees end up picking up the brunt. It jacks up the price because it's the richest plan. It's also the most expensive one. The other item to note is out of more than 4,000 lives that are covered, half of the people here are employee-only PPO. Under every employee agreement we have with our bargaining units, we're required to cover 85% of their premium. So if it goes up 12%, for those individuals who have employee-only PPO coverage, we are required to cover 85% of that increase. So that prevents us from using anything to mitigate the increases in the other coverage levels for the other plans.
Right. My other question is, when you go to the slide for the proposed premium adjustments, which I think might be the slide all of our employees are going to immediately go to when they look at this presentation. It's really when you look at what's in blue, obviously, which would be the impact. I want to be absolutely clear for everybody watching this. Those adjusted premium rates reflect the employee's $1.8 million cost sharing burden, correct? Okay. It's not that we're going to take the $2 million that was subsidized and throw it on top of the 1.8 million and create a $3.8 million cost sharing burden in a single year. This right here represents the $1.8 million 36% share of the increase for next year.
It is that, but it is also having to catch up. So for what I'm saying is that in that orange box, had there not been subsidies, that $49.63 that employee pays per PTO might have been $55. So their increase would have been only $10, but because we subsidized those $10, they are now not only jumping the subsidy that we've kind of been holding back from them, but also that 12%. So in a way, yeah, we are stacking on top the cost of the current year plus all of the subsidies because we've been holding them harmless.
So it does represent the $1.8 million 36% share of the $5.8 million increase, plus we're starting to take back the subsidy that was previously funded by the Employee Benefits Trust Board.
That's correct.
Okay. And that was an Employee Benefits Trust recommendation.
We provided all 3 of them. Ultimately, this is the conclusion they drew, is that this is kind of the lesser of the 3, to pick.
And just to add on, I think
the decision was also based on, in terms of the subsidy, was based on the projection for the reserves at the end of the year, which in prior years there's additional funding in there that could have been used and was approved to be used for the subsidy for the following year. In this case, we're looking at about $400,000 as a projected kind of excess over the minimum amount, which is not sufficient to cover that level of subsidy that is needed.
Gene, can you go back to slide 9? Or you're controlling it, sorry. So the premium strategy differences, see this one here. So if I'm understanding this, so the $5.8 million of total increases, that includes a subsidy plus a 12% increase is in there. Why would the cost for the district go up if we had no PPO? Or would it be more?
So based on the recommendations and the calculations from Valley, the monthly premiums do change because now we're actually putting people into a new type of health coverage plan, and they can talk about how those rates would change, but the rates wouldn't stay the same, right? If we eliminated PPO and moved everybody to a high deductible health plan, they won't pay the same rate. So the expense does go up, in addition to the fact that we also have to contribute health savings contributions to a new batch of employees that currently we don't contribute to. So that's why that 8 million is there. Also, the monthly expense does change for only providing a high deductible health plan.
So as a family physician, I've been doing this for 20 years, before the ACA and a lot of it after the ACA. And like I'll use that S word, our healthcare system sucks, that we decried earlier, and I'll say that without any equivocation. And this really sucks here. The costs are going up so much. And for employees listening tonight, a week from tonight, from 5 to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, February 17th, the unions are holding a healthcare forum to talk about health insurance and to talk about some potential options that we've been vetting for the last couple of years. Because right now, all this is stuck in a fee-for-service model where every doctor, hospital, every lab, everyone gets paid a fee-for-service model. We do more things for patients, we get paid more. And we don't get paid to actually take care of patients and keep them healthy. And that's just the really sucky system that we have here in America right now. And so we are looking at some other options, and we'd love for employees, members of unions, not members of unions, all employees and staff to join us at Howenstein on a week from tonight, 5 p.m., to just be there to listen to where these numbers come from, look at the options, and really help support with your opinions on where you want to see our district going in terms of some options that we've been just thinking about and looking at for the last couple of years. So please join us next Tuesday night for that. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. So, Katrina, with that happy topic, I understand we go back to our consent agenda next. And so we're on items 5.2 to 5.14. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, President Shaw, members of the governing board, the administration does recommend passage of the consent agenda as arranged, 5.2 to 5.14.
Governing board members, are there any items that require more clarification or any items like to be pulled for a separate vote? Mr. Romero.
5.10, I'd like more information, please.
More information on 5.10. Any others? All right, we have 5.10 for more information. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, I'd like to invite the team up to speak and answer any questions related to both procurement or the actual operations team talking about installation-related concerns for item 5.10. So we've got Damon for any concerns about the system or the equipment or the installation or timeline. We've got our purchasing director, Diana Kierfoot, to answer any questions about the procurement process. Mr. Romero, I'll turn it back over to you.
And this is item 5.10, approval for a cooperative contract on HVAC solutions for Korea Elementary School and Central Plant retrofit project. Mr. Romero.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, find out exactly what we've got going on with this on the HVAC systems on the whole school. Is this kind of more like on a chiller type of aspect that we're working on this one? Just kind of by looking at all the line items, what's going on, it's different than a standard HVAC system from what it looks like to me.
Yes, that is correct. So it's the entire central plant. So we basically presented to the Arizona State Facilities Department to basically retrofit the entire piece all at once, as opposed to go in individual pieces with the chiller first and then the air handlers and then controls. Based on discussions with the state, we made our presentation for the entire system, and that is a full redesign of the actual yard, and includes the chiller, the tower, as well as the controls. So it's a full redo.
So it's a full redo, and I guess that was my biggest concern, because I know we've had some different situations, like at Sam Hughes, where we're using old technology with new parts. We have Grijalva, where they have similar type of things, old ductwork with new type of systems, where we're having continued issues on that. And I guess my concern is, with this whole thing, are we going to alleviate having those, or am I going to have a school visit, we go back out and say, well, we're having these other issues? I guess, how much other work has been done to make sure that all these things are going to be, again, I know there's no 100%.
So as part of the IGA, we used, Veritech did their initial assessments just before us submitting them to the Arizona State Facilities Department. And the assessments on the controls piece, as well as the air handlers and the chillers, are all going to be upgraded, as opposed to what we normally do with the state is present individual pieces, air handler, chiller, controls. Our presentation, as I mentioned earlier, was the entire piece. And at that point, it was, they can say yes or no, let's just go for
it all.
Go for it all. And we had the data that supported us in the IGA document through the assessments, with the age of the controls, the unit, the age of the central plant, the chiller and the tower, and all of that provided in the presentation, the documentation the state needed to say, please move forward.
And what's been the timeline that this has been in with facilities boards, out of curiosity?
That's a great question. It's been with the Arizona State Facilities Department for about 20 months. Almost 2 years.
And then I also know, like up on that second level where you have the sun or the windows facing to the west over there, and they have just a couple of those little wall units there at Creo, and anytime in a warm months, that hallway is pretty unbearable. Is this system going to also kind of help in that area, do you know?
Yeah, so the system is going to be designed such as you're going to have T-stats along the hallway and in the room, so that you can take a look at the temperatures, again, as part of the overall energy efficiency model that we're looking at. So as the temperatures rise in certain rooms, depending on which windows are facing west, the T-stat's going to read that and be able to drop the temperatures in those rooms, so that we don't have that issue that we have now, because there's no way of doing that now except for manually.
Right, I know, I guess it gets beyond that point. Now, just as there are other considerations, and I'm not talking bond or anything like that, or other money that comes for facilities or schools, because this doesn't sound like it's in the privy of what the state's facility is, but I know probably tint on those windows in that area would help with the efficiency to achieve those types of things. Has this been given a consideration also for that area?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we are reviewing right now a grant with the Department of Energy, where they have funding available for these types of opportunities, where we can show with the installation of a UV tint, we can reduce the interior temperatures, which then reduces the temps and the constant cooling that needs to take place. If we provide that initial vapor barrier on the window, it'll lower the usage of the electricity, as well as the cooling tower and everything else, by constantly turning on, by reducing that one piece. So we were actually, Diana Kerfoot and myself, we're just looking at that grant literally in the back room. So we are looking at those opportunities, because there is federal dollars for us to chase exactly that. And it meets, our sustainability plan, and it looks, at a bigger picture, throughout our school districts, because that eventually is gonna reduce our energy consumption, as a whole. So we are gonna definitely take a look at that.
Okay, I guess my biggest thing is we want to make sure that some of these different things are taken in to concern on that. Again, from my background, those are things that I see when I walk a school facility that I notice that maybe not everybody else notices. So I just want to make sure we're spending good money, or the state is assisting us on this, and we're doing a service to not just our staff but our students, and doing our due diligence to cross the T's and dot the I's. As always, I appreciate the job you guys both do. So thank you again very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I will move consent agenda items 5.2 to 5.14.
I'll second.
Item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item passes 5-0. All right, next on the agenda, we have some feel-good items and some happy items. 6.1, administrative appointments, reassignments, and transfers. Director of Exceptional Education. Looks like we have a whole cheering squad here ready to go.
Yeah, no, we're very excited to bring forward tonight's hiring recommendation, who is one of our most outstanding administrators. And very rarely, if you're lucky, as a superintendent, can you match a leader that has the exact perfect combination of leadership style, presence, personality, and compassion to an area of the district's greatest need. As everybody knows, Tucson Unified School District, we are home to one of the largest populations of students with disabilities in the state. And for all the sometimes highly publicized complaints or criticisms of the district with regard to its program for exceptional education, we are large because we are so good. We have students that come to us every single day that do not have the appropriate resources at charter schools and private schools, and they're referred to us or they seek us out. We see families that have these empowerment scholarship accounts figure out very quickly how difficult it is to go out on their own and educate a child with disabilities, and they come back. We're very good at what we do with exceptional education. But within that work, we understand that it is a very, very passionate part of the work that we do here, that parents advocate for their kids fiercely, and that our students' needs are very, very pronounced. And I couldn't think of a person, a leader, better equipped to go into those situations and work with our parents and demonstrate that compassion, that understanding, that belief that our district is really here to work for their children and care for their children than tonight's recommendation. And I think that that is most what is needed in our exceptional education leadership team, is that bridge out to parents, that bridge out to our teachers and our educators that can say, hey, I've been here, I've done this work on a campus, I've had these programs on my campus, I understand the needs of these students, I love these kids, we love these kids, and you're here because you love your kids. Let's work together. And so I'm proud tonight to recommend the proud principal of Whitmore Elementary, Jennifer Figueroa, to serve as Director for Exceptional Education.
Governing board members.
Dr. Shaw.
Ms. Luna Rose and Mr. Romero.
I would like to move the item.
So I actually have some questions real quick, Dr. Trio. On this exceptional education.
So I'll second the item and go ahead, Mr. Romero.
Sorry. The exceptional education director, did we have somebody currently? Is this a new position?
This position has been vacant for a while. So we had it filled temporarily with an interim. Elaine House was carrying out the duties and continues to carry out the duties on an interim basis. So yeah, we've had it. We couldn't fill it last year. It's very hard to position to fill. So Ms. House, of course, upon a successful appointment this evening, will turn over the reins at the end of the school year to the incoming director.
Fantastic. Within this, not to put our candidate on the podium over here, do you mind if I just hear a little bit from her on how she feels she can be successful on this?
Absolutely. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Figueroa.
Thank you, Jen, for allowing me to bring you on up, but I know if anybody is in capable hands on this, I know it's Shu from, visiting you at your schools. I know we all want to see you succeed in this.
Yeah,
And we want
absolutely.
to hear from you, how you're going to hold yourself accountable, expectations, and your vision.
All right, well, thank you, first of all. I really appreciate it. I haven't done the official vote. You're doing questions. But I think if you look at the audience, this is my current community right now, and I'm going to tell you, they don't suck. They're amazing. They show up every day, and to have relationships like that, I've been a part of Whitmore since 2003, on and off. When I went to Miller as the principal there, same thing. They would have been here as well, so as Gail. And I can't say enough great things. They show up every day, and I'm their biggest fan. I'm their biggest cheerleader. I do everything for them, and we always try to work out a win-win situation. They will tell you, I'm in classrooms. I'm the person that you're going to see out. I don't stay in my office. Kids are in my office more than I am. So, and teachers are. So, I wrote something. I don't know if I want to say.
Why don't you
now
save those
or
written
later.
comments for a moment, listeners? We'll have a vote on this. Any other further questions, Mr. Romero?
But I'm just going to work, I'm here. You've been on my campus. I think everybody here has been on my campus. And I really, Sadie, no, you haven't. I'm sorry. You got to come. You got to come before I'm out, all right? So it's a really great place to be. And again, I can't say enough great. They're my family. And I can't wait till I could be able to extend that to the whole district, That's why I became a principal, because I saw what I did in the classroom, and it was awesome. And when I became a principal, I did that at the school level. So now, if I have, the district at my hands and my fingertips, man, you guys we're gonna rock it. Lillian, it's a promise, all right?
Yeah.
We're there.
Because I know, we as a board have gotten emails regards, to accept education from time to time and things of that nature. And I think one of the biggest things is to make sure we have somebody that can be that first line of defense to grab those things before it gets up to the board and they can get addressed and the concerns, are taken, not that they're not taken seriously, but addressed in a timely fashion. I guess, knowing that, or like I said, accountability on your end to give us that reassurance on that, if there's anything other special talent that or skill set you think you have that's going to accomplish that too.
Yeah, I'm very old school. I'm from West Virginia, and it's all about communication. I love to talk. I never meet a stranger, and not just talk, but I show up to work. And if there's a problem, I call people back immediately, before the school day's over. I can't go to sleep at night because I'm thinking, if that was my kid, I want somebody to return my call. That's the most important person, that we're dealing with. So we need to return the call. Not just to parents, but I'm talking about from staff, our program coordinators, Dr. Salmon, this is everybody, right? And they are super knowledgeable. We have a really strong team. It's just getting it out there and be able to communicate with our families and our staff. Our staff, they really need to be supported and know that we are, because we're all here for the same reason. We do support them. And we just need to put resources in the right place and make some really good decisions to support all that. So yeah, when you call me, I'm going to be on the other line. They text me all the time, and I know it's on a bigger scale, but we got to be there. We got to answer the phone. I can't thank Ms. Rodriguez enough. Every time I call her, we're not personal friends, but man, she picks up that phone. And it's you think about it, when you're in crisis, if you could call your family, that's the first person you call. So that's really what I bring. I'm there. So we need somebody to listen and kind of work through these things and support our campuses.
Thank you. That's what I needed. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. I'll say before we vote that this is just our most vulnerable populations that we're serving, and we've struggled a lot of ways. We've had a lot of successes. We do some great work for a lot of students, but communication is you mentioned something that we really need to work on. And I'm glad that not only do we have a principal, but a principal of your caliber coming into this role, and Dr. Salmon will hopefully have the support that she needs for this department to be even more successful serving our vulnerable students. And all those in favor for this vote, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Now, as official, please go ahead with your.
All right, thank you. And So I got to take my glasses off. All right, so to the board, President Shaw, Dr. Trujillo, thank you all so much. And Ms. Rodriguez, I know she's back there. Thank you all so much, first of all, for putting your trust and faith in me. I know the position has been vacant for a while, so I'm really looking forward to stepping into this role, and it's an honor. While this appointment marks a new chapter, the last 22 here in TUSD, that has truly prepared me for this moment. Every challenge, every success, and every relationship, I mean, I can't stress that enough, has really shaped how I lead and how deeply I love this district and want the best for it. So to the Whitmore community, I know I've bragged on you enough, but man, you guys are so much more than my colleagues or neighbors, but you are my family, so yeah. I've had the privilege of watching my family grow. My kids are here. They are Whitmore Wildcats and Fruit Tendler Firebirds, and yeah, UHS graduate too. So yes, very proud of my kids, and I can't thank their teachers enough, man, in TUSD. But I've had the privilege of watching all of our families grow. Old students actually returning, with their kids, and old students returning to actually, teach on my campus. That really says a lot. And just a school culture that is truly special. And what makes Whitmore exceptional isn't just our programs or practices, it's that heart, it's that collaboration and the unwavering commitment of the people who show up every day for kids. And that's what it's about. We all show up. That spirit, that dedication, it's just really worth celebrating. So I appreciate that we do a lot of that. And more importantly, though, this is something that can be cultivated like across the district. And I'm excited to help elevate that and share that across the district as well. So while this transition is very bittersweet, I'm leaving a place where I, my own family, and so many others have grown up with this district. I'm incredibly energized about what lies ahead. I look forward to advocating for all students and staff and showing up for educators, the support staff, the administrators who hold our campuses together. We cannot say that enough, man. They're amazing people that work for us and work with us and make our successes possible. So I'm really eager to collaborate with our program coordinators and Dr. Salmon as we build on what's working, improve our proactive communication, and ensure every student and staff member across TUSD has the support that they need. So that's why I'm in it, and I really appreciate all the approval. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Figueroa, we have a whole line of people ready to shake your hand behind you there. So once you're done hugging all of your cheerleading squad, please make your way to the back. Dr. Trish, should we move on to 6.2 while she's doing that?
Yes. Item 6.2, I want to welcome our program coordinator for career and technical education. And I think, do we have a guest CTE teacher that's going to read our proclamation? It is, February is Career and Technical Education Month in the Tucson Unified School District, and I'd like to present our program coordinator, Mr. Chuck McCollum, to coordinate the reading of this proclamation.
Okay, good evening, everybody. As you know, CTE is very much a big part of our district and things that our students really love, and our teachers do a outstanding job of instructing. February is CTE month. And tonight I'd like to introduce Dr. Maria Bicknell. She's the marketing teacher and department head at Pueblo High School. And she will say a few words and then also read the proclamation for you. So Dr. Bicknell.
Thank you. I am honored to be here, and I am honored to be representing CTE, TUSD CTE. 43 years I've been in the classroom at Pueblo High School in CTE. So this is an amazing thing that we can do, is the proclamation, and I am here to read it. Whereas February 2026 is designated as Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education of Arizona and the National Association for Career Technical Education, highlighting the transformative impact of career and technical education on individuals and communities. And whereas career and technical education offers students the opportunity to gain the academic, technical, and employability skills necessary for true career readiness, and whereas career and technical education provides students with career exploration opportunities early in their educational experience, which enables them to make informed and beneficial decisions about their academic coursework and pursue established programs of study and career pathways. And whereas the collaboration between career and technical educators, business and industry drives local and national economic growth by preparing students for in-demand careers and strengthening Arizona's workforce. And whereas career and technical education equips students with essential technical and professional skills through practical, meaningful applications of core subjects like reading, writing, and mathematics, fostering academic success, leadership, and community engagement. And whereas career and technical education provide lifelong learning opportunities, enabling individuals to adapt to evolving workforce needs, achieve career satisfaction, and secure economic independence. And therefore, the governing board of the Tucson Unified District does hereby proclaim February 2026 as Career and Technical Education Month.
Thank you. Governing board members.
I'll move the item.
Moved by Ms. Shaw and seconded by Ms. Ekstrom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and thank you for all your work you're doing in CTE.
Thank you.
So meaningful for so many of our kids.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, Dr. Trujillo, we have 6.3, approval of proclamation of National School Counseling Week, February 2 to 6.
Yes, I believe we have our program coordinators, both for secondary counseling services and also for our elementary school counselors. We have Rebecca. Thank you for joining us here this evening. Are you going to be reading, or are we going to pass to Vanessa? We're going to share the reading.
Right.
Okay.
Vanessa's gonna read, and I'm just gonna say a couple words.
right.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo, President Shaw, and ladies and gentlemen of the board. During National School Counseling Week, we recognize the input of TUSD school counselors, whose work is aligned with the Ask a National model and grounded in data-informed practice. Counselors support academic achievement, college and career readiness, and student well-being with effects that extend far beyond the classroom and individual students and strengthen entire school communities. We appreciate their professionalism, expertise, and commitment to student success.
All right, good evening. So National School Counselor Week proclamation, this was for February 2nd through the 6th, 2026. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential. And whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents, as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help families focus on ways to further the academic, career, and social-emotional development of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive development school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, the governing board of the Tucson Unified School District does hereby proclaim February 2nd through the 6th, 2026 as National School Counseling Week. Thank you.
Thank you. Governing board members.
I'll move the item. I'll second.
Item is moved by Ms. Ekstrom and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes 5-0. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And I'm proud that not just the governing board, but our whole entire Tucson community supported school counselors with our passage of the override last November going into the next school year. Not only are we able to maintain the school counselors that we have, but we're able to expand that as well, which is going to make a big impact for our students. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you, community, for your support.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next we'll go to 6.5, approval to renew members of the Bond Oversight Committee to an additional 2-year term. Dr. Trujillo, we're going straight to you, or going to our,
I believe we're going to Ms. Ekstrom, our Bond Oversight Committee Board Liaison.
Ms. Ekstrom?
Let's see. Okay, it's reloading. Yes, so a majority of our Bond Oversight Committee members are up for renewal for their next 2-year term, 4-year term. Sorry, I'm still reloading, sorry.
Yep, it's 3 2-year terms.
Yes, so the ones that had let us know who wanted to return are in the, sorry, I'm still, okay, here we go. So it's Catherine Arvizu, Sophia Blue, Cindy Coleman, Luis Gonzalez, Erica Miranda Carter, Red Morrow, Peter Norquist, and Tiffany Rogers. And then that will leave 3 openings on the Bond Oversight Committee.
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Item passes 5-0. Ms. Ekstrom, you probably don't have the names of the ones that are leaving? That's fine, I didn't think you would, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot.
It's Don Bell, Raghunandan, and don't tell me, Jeffrey Anthony.
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank all those members for all their service, and thank you for them, and thank you for the members who are going to be continuing on. It makes a huge difference to our district having all that input into how we're going to spend that $470 million bond to improve our schools and make an impact for our students. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Ms. Ekstrom, for your service as our board liaison. All right, so now we're going on to 7.1, our study action item, review and approval of Budget Advisory Committee priority area recommendations for implementation in the 26-27 school year.
Yes, I'd like to turn the item over to our governing board liaison, Ms. Natalie Luna Rose. I don't believe you have any other co-presenters, or do we have Ms. Pacheco?
Well, not Ms. Pacheco, but.
We have Montserrat Caballero, who's on our Zoom, also who'll be joining us.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Trujillo. The Budget Advisory Committee, over several meetings, discussed what the recommendations we gave them and coming back to us, their thoughts. And I know that we all see it here. I'll just read them briefly, and then I'll have Ms. Caballero speak. And I do believe she's home tonight with the flu, so I appreciate her zooming in. But the recommendations from the BAC, the Title I recentralization and resource deployment for the 26-27 school year. They would like to see continuing the current structure for Title I central and school site allocations. And I'll just kind of briefly summarize. CTE, technical education, I'd like to see prioritizing expanding programs, which I think ties in nicely to the proclamation that a vote that we just did. No changes in attendance and initiative funding. Early childhood education before and after school programs to recommend to an expansion plan. Establishing a school garden was studied, only no action taken. A priority was added concerning summer school funding, which there was quite a bit of discussion. So with that, I will turn that over to Montserrat, if she is there.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna, thank you, I'm so sorry. I really wanted to be there in person, but we are a house full of flu right now. So thank you so much for allowing me to zoom in. And thank you, Ms. Luna Rose. I don't know if there are any questions about the recommendations that we put forward, but just a little bit about our process. If we can go to the next slide, please. So first, this is our committee this turnaround. So I really want to thank all of the committee members, many of whom are returning. And we added several new ones and are having more join us. And I also really want to thank Tanya and Yolanda and Ricky for all of their support as staff and all of the presenters who came to talk to us about these items. Really good and robust and thoughtful discussion and conversation. So just very much appreciate all of the effort that goes into running this committee all around. So as Ms. Luna Rose said, I'm just going to go through. Can we go to the next slide, please? And go ahead, next slide. So as was mentioned, these are our recommendations. I think that this was one of our most fruitful conversations, I think we learned a lot about Title I, and that is our recommendation is continuing the current structure, as Ms. Luna Rose said, and we just really appreciate having such a robust understanding of the importance of Title I, and if there's anything we can do in terms of spreading that knowledge around, I guess I'll put it that way. Next slide, please. CTE, as Ms. Luna Rose mentioned, we just heard that wonderful proclamation. So just in line with what we heard from the staff that came and talked to us, just really recommending prioritizing and expanding programs that align to the career paths that are going to make it so our kiddos have a career path in our community, and not just a career path, but something that's family sustaining wages, as we like to call it. We have some very high profile areas in Pima County, and it would be great to be able to have the district align itself to those industries, knowing that those are the high growth industries. And we added the second part. The committee felt very strongly that really advocating at the state level for getting that full funding back to the 9th grade, so we can get our kiddos in and interested as early as possible, and then also going down even to the 8th grade, trying to create some sort of funding stream to expand that. So overall, with this recommendation, it really was based on the recommendations of the outstanding staff that came and talked to us. Next slide, please. With regards to the attendance initiative, no action was taken, as Ms. Luna Rose mentioned. We had a lot of questions, and some of the conversation led us to asking questions primarily around transportation. So we are going to start our new committee next in the new school year talking about transportation and seeing if there's any connection at all to the attendance initiative. Next slide, please. And again, with regards to the early childhood education and the before and after school programs, the committee recommends that we follow the expansion plan as it was presented to us, and that includes scholarship expansion and the tuition increases that were presented to us for the next 2 school years. This is an area that we know that early childhood education is a key, particularly in ending generational poverty. So the committee really is interested in making sure that the TUSD programs continue to stay strong and robust, and that we assist as many kiddos as we can in our community. We know that this is one of the biggest gaps out there. So this was an easy one to recommend. Next slide, please. And then number 5, the school gardening and composting. Again, we had a wonderful presentation and no action was taken. Next slide. And the committee did add a recommendation, as it's stated, to recommend focusing, so sorry, I'm sorry, I apologize, that the governing board focus on the required funding for ELD students, apologies, at all high schools. So this was a recommendation added by the committee to look at next iteration. And I believe that's it for my presentation. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you, Montserrat.
Mr. Romero?
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, I just wanted to say before we open questions, because I did not say it before, thank you to all the members of the Budget Advisory Committee. We had a lot of discussion, and there was a lot of, I think, really good ideas and questions brought up. And if they could, they would have done every single one of these, but we know where we are in our budget. So again, I just want to thank them because, they're freely doing this on their own time. They're volunteers, they're parents, they're teachers, they're community members, and they could be doing something else, but they want to see our district succeed. So I'm just grateful for all the work they've done on this committee.
Go ahead, Mr. Romero.
So just thank you again. In the number 2, career and technical education, bullet point 1 mentions as budget allows, and it talks about prioritizing expanding programs in line to advancing career paths. What type of items were discussed, or as far as prioritizing expanding programs? Were there ideas, thought processes? What was the idea behind this?
It was really based on the presentation by staff and how they align and expand programs. It's my understanding that they do look at the data for our county. They participate in the Workforce Investment Board and look at things like, what are the fastest growing and the highest paying areas. And I also understand, we also heard that you want to make it so that even within the district, you're not necessarily providing every single program at every single campus. You may want to have areas of focus at various campuses. And so it's not necessarily put every program on every campus, the exact same thing. It's more nuanced than that, and really looking at where it makes sense to expand and align.
So it sounds like specializing certain careers at certain schools, again, that helps, I think would help sustain enrollment on that also, because if somebody wants to be a diesel technician, they're going to go to Santa Rita High School, because of that program over there. Now, as far as sustainable enrollment, was there talk on that presentation on plans on how to do that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I do know that is, one of the biggest, I don't want to say, it was a factor. It is a factor that is considered when it comes to starting a program or expanding a program, is enrollment. And so you do have to look at the numbers. If there's, 50 kids interested in X program over here, and there's only 4, for example, maybe interested in this program over here, that's the kind of conversation that you have to have. Can you run a program with 4 kids? How do you perhaps expand it? So that's where their plan is really looking to see, okay, what's working? We've got that program at Santa Rita. What do they have at Pueblo? What are they running at Tucson High, and et cetera, and where does it make sense? The sustained enrollment, we really, actually, I'm remembering that in the attendance conversation, this particular item also came up, and yes, we didn't take any action on the attendance, but it was a question that we had to potentially explore if do kids who are enrolled in CTE programs, for example, have better attendance than kids who are not? That was one question that we're going to explore, I think, in our new iteration of the committee. It was a piece of data that we had requested. Not sure that it answered your question.
No. You're kind of touching actually on more things that I might have questions on, so you're doing a phenomenal job. So I appreciate that. I want to still stay on the career and technical, but just kind of going through some of these other things. There's a lot of recommendations in some of the other bullet points here. Under 2.2, you guys actually have an ask. Request that the governing board develop a plan that advocates for reinstating full funding, et cetera, at the state level for, but you guys requested that we develop something. Was there ideas, thought processes, again, on this? What guidance or the reason why you guys came up with that statement there?
Yeah, well, we know that at one point it was, and we know that CTE is successful. And when kids have career exploration opportunities at younger and younger grades, it can certainly impact things like attendance. It can absolutely impact enrollment if there are things that we can offer and attract younger kids, for example, at that 8th grade level, like I mentioned. And with that 9th grade level, it's that continuity. And so again, back to those ever elusive questions around enrollment and attendance. Could having full 9th grade CTE play a role in those? We certainly felt that it did. And so I think the ask is, and I am pleading ignorance on this, but I'm going to make the assumption that you have somebody up in Phoenix speaking and working on behalf of the district. Is that correct? During legislative session?
We do.
We do, yes.
Okay, and so that's the ask, is working with that team of people to see if there is any interest in somebody from our Southern Arizona delegation to put forth, funding for this, or begin to have those conversations at that level. That was the ask.
Okay, and I think that's something on a deeper level, Dr. Trujillo, I'm guessing as far as on that, what we need to do for that. Now, one more quick question, and this probably isn't for you, but maybe for Ricky or Dr. Carter here. They talked about, some of the budget things on here, and I know recently CTE under the bond gifted some money. That doesn't have anything to implement any of these programs, does it? No.
No, it does not. The expansion that Ms. Caballero was talking about was really programmatic to then focus on what investment would it look like to expand on other programs. So right now, that the bond program and the investments from the bond and CT are not implicated.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I just want to make sure there was no mystery string attached. Again, thank you very much for taking the time and answering my questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. Ms. Luna Rose.
Mr. Romero, Mr. McCollum gave a wonderful presentation to the committee, so I think maybe some of your questions, if you wanted to follow up, or maybe he can send the board the presentation, what he gave the committee, if you're interested on what that looks like.
Or set up an appointment.
Yeah, or set up an appointment. Chuck, we might be calling
Whether
you.
you're giving an email.
Go ahead, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Ms. Caballero, for being here, considering your illness. I'm really happy to see a lot of these recommendations, especially the career and technical education recommendations. That's something I've been pushing for since being a governing board member. My question is for item 5, establishing a school garden and composting program at every TUSD school. When I think it was the school or the community gardens program came to us with a presentation some time ago, and I mentioned having a composting program at every school. They were they were nodding their heads in agreement, and I wonder what were the reasons for taking no action on this specific item.
Yeah, thank you. The way the discussion really came about, one of the obstacles that was identified was sustainability, and also the fact that these programs, well, I'll take a step back. The macro reason was obvious, well, maybe not obviously, but the macro reason was the financial situation of the district. And then drilling down, it was issues around sustainability. Maybe there is someone at a site that is interested and they take it on, and then that person moves on. That was identified as a factor. It's voluntary, so not every teacher at every site, at every grade, is potentially going to want to incorporate, maybe attaching some sort of academics to it. And then it was really explained to us how much support, for example, the sort of flagship program at Monzo gets from outside sources, and how the costs can really add up. So I think those were the main reasons why at this time we chose not to take any action.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I would hope that the board could consider also approving item 5, being that it aligns with our climate action policy. I do understand the reasoning that it's going to take some effort, but seems to me that the cost could be minimal. I mean, I've tried composting in my house and it was a failure, but if you fail, just throw it away. And I didn't have a good teacher, just a bucket. But I have high hopes for myself and for each of our schools to have a composting program. I think, it can be tied into the curriculum. It can help keep things out of our landfill, and then can also hopefully, go back and be fuel for a school community garden or gardens throughout the city of Tucson. So I guess I would move to add item 5 as a recommendation to this packet.
So I'm not sure we need action tonight. So this is a study action item. We have recommendations in the back. I think the staff has a lot of just direction that they've gotten from the back in terms of trying to implement. I don't think I'm ready to vote for a summer school program tonight with the information that we have. But I think the staff, we've given some feedback, and I think the staff has some good direction from the back to try to see how to implement this. It might come back. Some of these individual items might come back to us. So I'm not sure, unless Dr. Trujillo disagrees, or Ms. Luna Rose, if the board liaisons agree. I'm not sure if we want action and the board decides to do action, that's the board's prerogative. But I think for tonight's purposes, I think just getting some feedback, and then the staff needs to continue working on some of these issues. I don't think any of these are ready for final decisions tonight.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Dr. Jacques, because I was wondering why there's not any dollar amount attached to any of these. So if this can come back and we can get some more information about each of these items, including how much it would cost the district to implement, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think, Ollie is an individual, like, as we talk about summer school, we talk about CTE programs, we're gonna be expanding CTE programs with the override funds going to next year, so this is more kind of the direction, for staff to take. Yeah, and hopefully some of these items will come back to us as they work on getting approval to implement some of these in the future. Ms. Luna Rose?
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, and thank you, Ms. Shaw. I mean, but I think this was, I know we put it as, study action, but I think it's to obviously get the communicate, conversation between us, trying to figure out what's going to best move us forward for the next upcoming school year. So would like to see, a dollar amount to those things, as well as Mr. Hernandez, if you could speak on summer school funding, because that was something that was not given by the board to the committee, and the committee did have plenty of discussion. So I wanted to ask if you could kind of talk to my colleagues here on what would that look like given where we are budget-wise?
Yeah, so thank you. In regards to the ELD funding, there was conversation with the committee in regards to, are we providing funding in order to support language acquisition programs for ELD students in the high schools during summer? And the short answer is yes. I mean, this is something that has been provided in the past. This has generally been funded by the language acquisition department. It is part of their budget. For this year, the language acquisition department actually received additional funds from the federal government in their Title III, which is specifically for language acquisition and for English language instruction. And so one of the things that we're looking at is using those dollars specifically in order to address this recommendation. But overall, there is funding already that's been designated as part of the planning process for ELDs and for language acquisition to provide some sort of funding to support a program in whatever that looks like for summer school. So some of these we're already doing. If you recall, in a prior meeting in the fall, we brought Title I to you. That is something that was already approved by the board. We've already implemented that now that we're going through budget development. CTE, as Dr. Ravi mentioned, the override is doing the expansion of CTE and doing some of what the Budget Advisory Committee has talked about. So some of these things have already been activated in the sense that their funding sources have already been dedicated prior to this. So, if the board certainly wants, it sounds like you want more information in regards to costs, we can certainly try to put some dollars and cents to that. A lot of this is already kind of in motion, in action, just because as part of the normal process of planning summer school, planning Title I funding for next school year, some of these things have already been put into place as part of our normal course of operations.
We'll love to see, as we're talking about, how to fund ECE next year and expansion with the override and the CTE, bringing in some of that information from the presentations and back so that the board is getting some of that background information too, on the whys. I think one of the big reasons for the back is to really vet those whys and making sure that we're in the right direction with some of this expansion and programmatic stuff. So I hope that in the months ahead, as we're approving the budget, improving these different things in the override and just in our general budget as well, that we'll get some of that background information from the back as well.
Sure.
Governing Board Member, anything else on this, Ms. Ekstrom?
Yes, I would actually like to see the presentations that were given to the Budget Advisory Committee. That way I can get more information on what information was given in regards to the after-school programs, the gardens. I want to see everything if that's possible.
Yeah, we'll provide the links to Yolanda. They're all living in board docs right now, so all the presentations and the video recordings are available for public consumption. We'll make sure that those get to you directly.
And then also for the composting and school garden, I don't think it's going to take a lot to compost. And for example, at my daughter's school, PTO is actively funding a school garden. So, I mean, there's other options. I think we just need to look above and beyond what we can do as governing board. But if I think a school really wants it, I think there's other ways to do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to item 7.2, request for.
Hold on. Thank you, Montserrat.
Oh, thank you, Montserrat. Thank you for being here tonight. Yes. Hope you and your family feel better.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. 7.2, request for governing board review and approval of contract language for the 26-27 school year for all certified and administrative employees. Dr. Trujillo.
Yeah, as we do every single year, we bring you contract form language. Of course, tonight, we're not bringing forward any employees. These are just the contracts. And I'm going to turn it over to John in a moment. With possible assistance with Rob, I think Mr. Ross did help with some of the language. I think what's new is that we're going to have portions of compensation are going to now be handled by what could be considered a temporary funding source. And then we're also going to have whole positions that could also be funded with a temporary funding source, which would be override money, which is a difference in contract language that you saw last year. So I'll ask John to make sure that you highlight that. Obviously, for time purposes, we're not going to read all of the different contracts, but we do want to hit the highlights and answer, of course, any governing board questions. Mr. Fernandez?
Good evening again. These are 7 contract templates really that we use for our superintendent leadership team, our TEA continuing probationary and temporary employees, our ELI members, who are principals, psychologists, research project managers, and our return to work employees. And so we come to the board around this time every year to get you to review the language and approve the language. And then on March 10th, we anticipate coming back with the names of those employees who will be offered contracts for the coming year. Once you approve that in March, then by March 15th, we'll be able to move those contracts out and make those, get those to the employees to sign for the coming school year. So the biggest change, which is basically in every one of the contract templates, is you'll see the specific language highlighted in red that you have, and I can read that out, but this really has to do with providing notice to employees of the impact of override funding on their compensation, and really just to provide them notice so that, over the next 5 years, as we head towards the 5th year, if an override is not renewed, the board does reserve its right to make adjustments to salary schedules and positions. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll just read it really quickly. Employee acknowledges that all or a portion of their compensation reflected in the current salary schedule is funded through a voter-approved budget override. Unless renewed by the voters, the first phase down will begin in the 2030 to 2031 school year. The governing board reserves the right to adjust salary schedules or reduce positions to align with available recurring revenue. The district remains committed to providing notice of any such adjustment no later than March 1 of the budget override's expiration year. So that standard language is in each of these contracts that are coming before you today. I did share the language both with Eli as well as the TEA for their review. The only question we had was really about the date for notifying employees, that March 1st date, and whether we could move that any earlier. In our discussion, my response was the language says no later than March 1st. If possible, we would love to always notify employees as soon as possible if there is going to be an impact. But March 1st really aligns with the budget process that we go through, and usually in January and February, we're working through those budgetary decisions and recommendations with school sites and departments. So we wanted to give it until March 1st because it really is around January and February where we start to get a clear picture of what the adjustments will be. So with that said, that was the only feedback I got. Otherwise, it's before you for your consideration and approval, hopefully.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Governing board members, any questions, comments, feedback, any motions? I'll move the item. Moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, item passes 5-0. All right, thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right, next we have 7.3, approval to purchase and implement second phase of the investment grade audit, IGA. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, I'll turn this over to our bond manager, Dr. Charlotte Carter.
Hey, good afternoon, well, good evening. I am here to present, and also let me start with this, to the governing board, President Dr. Shaw, and governing board members. I am here to discuss the approval to purchase and implement the second phase of the 4 of the investment grade audit. So the investment grade audit is to help determine the potential energy and water saving opportunities for the district. We have 21 schools, which I won't read all of them. And if we could put up on the screen the document, what I really do want to, on the second of the 12 pages, want to talk about what the scope is of this second phase of the investment grade audit. And so the coordination, if you can go down to the second page, is the coordination and management with TUSD designed to provide the following: the mechanical engineering, structural engineering, electrical engineering, the HVAC, large equipment design development, the energy engineering and model and savings, the building automation and system design, gas metering and code compliance, water conservation measures, irrigation system development and conservation upgrades, energy and climate education, career technical education programs, installation and building envelope, support TEP application for rebates and additional incentives, and then to design development support for Get the Load Out GLOW. I do want to remind everybody that the investment grade audit is not funded by the bond program, but the IGEA baseline facilities assessment data can be used to maximize the bond funds through increasing energy efficiency, reducing maintenance costs, and prolonging the equipment life cycle. So what I would love is a motion to approve the purchase and implementation of the second phase of the investment grade audit to determine energy and water saving opportunities across the district.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Governing board.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Item moved by Ms. Shaw and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. I have some questions before we vote on this. So can you tell me how this relates to, I don't know, some of our operations folks aren't here, but how this relates to the consultant that we hired to look at energy efficiency in our district and to implement our climate sustainability plan? Are they involved in this process at all? And did they make recommendations to this?
I'm going to let the SME, Damon Ballesteros, address that.
Mr. Ballesteros?
Yes, good evening. So what we took a look at with the investment grade audit, you have two components. This is really a boots on the ground effort with the bond and the partnership. The overarching climate and sustainability plan is a long range planning doc that looks at, a 5-10 year, and the advantages that we have with our bond that we passed is we're able to implement these facility improvement measures much sooner and provide that data that we need so that we can really target those small and short-term goals that meet the overarching sustainability plan. So we are a part of, there's been multiple discussions with Tina and that group looking at what their long-range plan is and how we can take advantage of the long-range plan to provide short-term goals that meet that ultimate sustainability plan.
Any other questions or comments from the governing board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item passes 5-0. Thank you. All right. Dr. Trujillo, we have one more study item left on our agenda, TUSD K6 initiative and planning updates.
Yeah, President Shaw, members of the governing board, though we're probably going to take a pause this year and not recommend adding to K6. We want to concentrate on working out the bugs with our current K6 slate of schools. We want to provide the governing board with an update on not just enrollment, but what have been some of the strengths and challenges so far with the K-6 initiative, and then, of course, throw it open to the board for question, comments, and suggestions. Joining us is our Regional Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Richard Sanchez, to handle some of the questions. We also have Dr. Freitas here to answer any other related questions.
Well, good evening, Board President Shaw, Governing Board members, Dr. Trujillo. Just want to thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to provide you an update on the K-6 initiative that you are all very familiar with. Just for a little bit of the context to the public, just want to remind everybody of the 13 K-6 schools that we have throughout our district. They are represented throughout our region. The majority, or the original 10 of them, began in school year 24-25, and then of course this academic year we added 3 more schools, which was Borton, Kelland, and Wright. And so just to give the public a little bit of context, we know that the K-5 middle school or K-8 initiative instructional model has been around for multiple decades, and this K-6 initiative has been underway for about 1.5 years now. And so I do want to take a moment to thank the board for thinking outside the box, for providing our families with an opportunity to have a different kind of student experience, especially for their 5th graders who are matriculating to 6th grade, and knowing that we have to do things nowadays to try to customize that educational experience. And so I really do want to thank the board. I also want to thank our principals and in particular our teachers who are implementing this program. We know that one of the things, being a former STEM principal myself, is sort of that iterative process of trying to make sure that you plan and then design and then you implement and you test and then you reflect. Those things are the attributes we really want in our students. And so these schools are really modeling that, because there have been some great strengths from the program, but also some growing pains, as we know that we're in the infancy of it. One of the things that we're really trying to do in district leadership is to interface with our principals, our teachers, and our families, and really determine what's working, and then also what can we do to hopefully make it a better student experience, knowing that not every single instructional model is going to equate to, for example, the middle school model. There are going to be some distinct differences between the two, but what we're hoping for families is that they get to have choice and an opportunity to make the best choice for their child through this particular initiative. So what you're going to see throughout this presentation really is just a reminder of what the instructional framework is, and then what are the lessons that we've learned over the last 1.5 years. What are some of the instructional strengths? What is some of the feedback that we've received from families, from site administrators and teachers regarding the instructional strengths? Of course, what are the challenges? What are the things that we have to try to close the gap on? And then are we having any refinements going into the next school year that we can present to the board and of course the general public? So just to recall, there is a distinct difference between the K-5 and the 6th grade middle school model. And so this slide really just designates the difference between the two. The one thing that I want to really share with the board and the public is that they're funded very differently, by the way. It's not a uniform funding system when it comes to elementary and to middle school. Those are two different sort of funding categories. And so you're going to see distinct differences when students do get into 6th grade, even though they still are on the elementary school. So a couple of things that you see there in the K-5 that many of you are familiar with, being parents, of course, is the daily attendance, an instructional schedule that really is not period-based. It's whole-based school. So maybe in the morning you have ELA, and then after lunch you have math for an extended period of time. It's broken up into more of an instructional schedule than an instructional period-based kind of model. There are certain state daily minutes that are required, not content minutes. So there are instructional minutes for the day, but not necessary for the content. And then of course specials. Specials are what we call at the secondary level electives. But the specials at elementary school really are funded very differently than they are at an elective through the secondary model. So specials, and they vary from school to school. You've had the taiko drums here performing for you from Cavett, right? That comes from OMA, and then being an OMA school, and of course being able to receive some funds from there. We've had the Fine Arts Department provide funding for all of our elementary schools throughout the district. Now that varies in whether they have band or orchestra. We've seen some of those performances here. When you go to schools like Sam Hughes, you'll see an ecology program. Well, that's funded through tax credit dollars that they have available to them. If you know, I know naturally some of you are parents from Line Weaver, so you know they have a PE program there, and that's naturally funded through M&O. So every school of 66 elementaries are funded a little bit differently, and therefore the specials that they have, the students engage with, vary from school to school. Whereas at the secondary model in sixth grade, you're required to have electives. Now, electives are prescribed within the instructional day of the 6-period day model. And so those electives are based on what we can afford based on the student enrollment within that grade level and the opportunities that we have. As you know from the board, from the other presentations about K-6, we have a 6-period day at the 6th grade level. 4 of those are required academics that have to be instructional minutes bound, and that of course is math, science, social studies, and English. And then we have the 2 electives. The 2 electives that we've been able to offer our 6th graders is fine arts. We've been able to extend the elementary fine arts to the 6th graders by having them participate in band and orchestra. And then we chose AVID as the other elective, so that way they could be better prepared as they transitioned into 7th grade. So, you know, those are just really the 2 models that we have. We know that we've been experimenting this year with having some of our K-6 schools that have these specials and having the 6th graders actually participate in those specials. The only difficulty with that is we can't take away the instructional minutes from the 4 academic core classes in order to do that. And so we're trying to experiment with some of the elective choices to maybe have them engage with some of those other specials as well. So some of the strengths that you'll see here on the screen are things from anecdotal data to school quality survey data to, you know, me reaching out to the principals on my visits or my colleagues that go and visit these particular schools and ask how the program is going, interfacing with the teachers. And some of these things I think we knew were going to be positive once the board had approved the K-6 initiative, and that is the first one, being familiar with and supportive learning environments. We've heard a lot from our parents on why they decided to stay at their local elementary school, because they knew the staff there, they knew that there was relationship capacity already built. Maybe they had younger siblings already attending, and it was easier for the parent to go ahead and keep both of their children at the same location as well. So those are just things that we've heard that is a strength about this particular program. The deep knowledge of students and families, of course, when you are there from kinder all the way now through 6th grade, you do build that relational capacity, and you have sort of the needs of the student and the parents in mind. The students are very familiar with the routines and the procedures of that particular school, especially around like PBIS and different things that are occurring at the site level that really helps them understand the school, and of course, more importantly, that the teachers and the staff understand the student and the family. So you get much more parent engagement in that context. The lower student to teacher ratios are really important. From school to school, if you walk into those 6th grade classrooms, there is a smaller student to teacher ratio than maybe you would traditionally see at the middle school level. We really think that has helped in regards to the teachers being able to deliver that tier 1 instruction, especially since they have to deliver multiple contents to the students. It allows them to sort of engage with that whole group and small group opportunity at a much more reduced ratio than they may, the student may engage with at the middle school level. Individualized student learning and supports. Just to let the board know, when we look at the enrollment data, 1/3 of the students who attend 6th grade are exceptional ed students. And so this really does help us in the regards of making sure that we are following that IEP, that we are making sure that we are following that plan, that if students have an MTSS plan, that we're following the academic and behavioral plan that was established maybe in the previous years as well. And then, of course, stronger relationships within the building. Of course, students are more familiar with one another. They have sort of matriculated with one another from cohort to cohort. And so that bonding experience is well established for the students as well. But of course, there are challenges, right? It's hard to replicate the middle school environment at a K-6. And so some of these are things that we're really trying to wrap our mind around, and how can we sort of make the student experience a little bit better, as well as the teacher and the administrative experience. And so we know that there's limited access to specialized instruction. If your child goes to a middle school, they're going to get a dedicated math, science, social studies, ELA teacher, who's sort of that singleton, who is that content expert in there. And so that is the difference between going off to a middle school and, of course, staying behind at the elementary and having that teacher have to teach those multiple contents. We know that the depth of knowledge because of that really is something that we have to help try to support our K-6 teachers on, so that way the students are getting robust, rigorous curriculum as they're delivering those kind of content strands as well. We know that there's, quite frankly, elective opportunities are reduced, right? When you go off to a middle school, your child's gonna have a robust opportunity to take multiple classes. Even though it's a 6-period day and 2 electives, those elective choices are more robust at the middle school level. At the elementary level, because a little bit of the funding that we have and the specials that we have there, it definitely is much more limited. And so the student engagement piece in that capacity becomes limited as well, and the student interest. Then limited extracurricular programming. In the past year and a half, we have not been able to really come up with a plan to engage our students with after-school opportunities as much as they have at the middle school level, including extracurricular sports or after-school clubs. But that is something that you'll see on the next slide that we're happy to report we're going to be able to do next year for our 6th grade students. And then, of course, family choice and enrollment pressures. We know we have some wonderful middle schools. We have Dodge, we have Wakefield. And so sometimes the families really want to get into those schools early on in 6th grade and not have to wait for that transition into 7th grade to make that, to get in there, especially through sort of the lottery system. And so that's important for families that they sort of get their student in right away, which then does cause us to have a little bit of that enrollment loss when it comes to retaining the students in 6th grade at this K-6s. And of course, the perception that middle school offers more sports, more after-school clubs, and more electives, which is an accurate perception. So what are we trying to do moving forward? We've made some steps in doing this based on the enrollment and in particular K-6 schools. For example, 6 of the 13 schools do departmentalized instruction, which means they don't get 4 teachers, but they get 2. There's a teacher that is teaching the math science curriculum, and then there's a teacher that is teaching the ELA social studies curriculum. And thus that does allow for some of that transition to occur where the 6th grade student does get a different perspective, a different teacher, and that teacher is able not to have to teach so much content. They can be a little bit more content experts in those 2 particular contents that they've been assigned as well. We have been, since dating back to last year during our PLD days, pulling all 6th grade teachers from K-6s and providing them professional development. Because we know this is a new model, we want them to come together as colleagues and talk about things that are going well, things that they're struggling with, and how are they able to manage the role that they're playing. I do want to thank Kathy Jensen and Hillary Lotes for being the facilitators and planning those specialized PLD days for those K-6 teachers. We do plan next year, because of the great news of the override passage, to have more opportunities for our 6th graders on the K-5 campus. As we now know that because of the override, we will have elementary schools that now offer PE, where that was a little bit of hit and miss across the district. Now all 66 of our schools, including the 13 K-6 schools, will have PE as an opportunity there. We know that we have the arts already, and that's also going to be expanded through the override passage. And the enrichment electives that we have, we really want to incorporate into the student schedule by making it more of a quarterly kind of elective and maybe not a semester kind of elective moving into next year. And then, of course, we want to partner with communities and organizations to come in to those K-6 schools and offer some after-school activities that the sixth graders could participate in and engage with as well. And then the great news that we have to share with the public is beginning next year, we are going to allow our sixth graders to participate in extracurricular sports at their nearest middle school. So we will be providing information to those sixth graders and those parents about how to become eligible to participate. There are some participation requirements if you have your children going through interscholastics, but they will basically will be able to provide them their nearest middle school to then transition to after school and then compete in those extracurricular activities. I am working also with Dr. Joe Nashcraft to determine if that also can be replicated when it comes to performing arts. So if there is a middle school nearby that has after-school choir, I want to be able to provide the sixth grade student the opportunity to participate in that after-school program there as well. So those are things that we've been able to work out through eligibility and our synergy team. That's been a process, but we're happy that that's going to be coming up soon enough. So with that being said, I will be happy to take any questions and or any ideas that you may have that will help enhance this particular initiative. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. I think this summarizes a lot of what I assume a lot of my colleagues see when we visit schools that have the K-6 campus. We see things that are working well for the students that are there, and a lot of the challenges that we see firsthand or hear from the teachers and staff that are trying to engage the students and make sure they have all the opportunities they need. There's a lot of ideas and thoughts, but I'll turn it over to my governing board members if they wanted to make any comments or questions first. Mr. Romero, followed by Ms. Luna Rose, followed by Ms. Shaw.
So real quick, you're talking about the lower student-teacher ratio on those schools. I'm guessing that is the rule, but we have a couple excellers like Soling Tom Oscar, who's got a lot going over there. Other than Soling Tom in his sixth grade, are there anybody that has kind of that quite a bit different ratio like they have?
With the enrollment over in the southwest side of Tucson, VC and Banks also tend to have higher enrollment when it comes to the student-to-teacher ratio. More of our central central locations, I mean, every school varies. I know at Wright, it's in their first iteration, so it's a little bit smaller there when it comes to student-to-teacher ratio. But just down the street, Davidson, which is it's in its second year, has been able to grow the program and actually bring in additional students from neighboring elementaries that wanted to stay in the elementary sort of setting. So it just varies, Mr. Romero, from enrollment, but Soling Tom is definitely a school that has been able to retain many of the fifth grade cohort to sixth grade.
And I know, again, as it's infancy, and I just want to see how we're thinking ahead and beyond, because eventually they're going to have to leave sixth grade, like before they had to leave fifth grade, now they have to leave sixth grade. Are we keeping an eye on any of the type of metrics from the kids that are going into seventh grade, that are going from middle school 6 to middle school 7th, from K-6 to middle school 7? How are we monitoring where those children are, those students are in that seventh grade experience? Because again, sixth grade, they have that 1 year for seventh grade in middle school. In the K-6 program, it's jumping right into the fire there.
Yeah, so part of the rationale for why we picked AVID as that second elective was really to get them ready for that transition into seventh grade, because we knew the transition was going to occur, and it's not going to be replicated perfectly on the elementary environment, that they're going to have to get used to making the transition 6 or 7 times, where maybe currently they're only making it 1 or 2 times if they're going into special. So part of the AVID kind of curriculum that we're working on is them understanding some of those transition experiences, and even though they're not really living it, It's really mentally preparing them for that. And then really it's about us looking at what the enrollment looks like for the receiving schools and making sure that we're capturing as many students as possible transitioning into that middle school.
Thank you. Ms. Luna Rose, followed by Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you so much for the presentation. One comment and then my question. I was recently at Davidson last week. I actually did love a reading, and so, and speaking to the principal there, she was saying that I had honestly forgotten that there was sixth grade there, because I was saying like sometimes reading to fifth graders is a little bit more of a challenge than reading to first and kindergarten. And she's like, oh yes, you know, we also have our sixth grade. And I said, and I was like, oh, how's that going? And she said that it was just such a nice change for the community there, as well as the fact that they weren't, it was, for a lot of the parents, they felt like it kind of kept them on the smaller side, you know, as opposed to going to the middle school and acting too cool for school, as I like to say. And so it sounded to me in our conversation that the parents really appreciated it. So to lead into my question, has there been maybe a mid-year ask of parents, like a survey of how you're feeling keeping your child through sixth grade here, or moving them to a school that from their previous school that now this school that they're at has the sixth grade? You know, have we done that, or have you done that yet?
We haven't done a particular survey. It's something that I know myself and the assessment evaluation team can put together. We tend to, of course, rely on the school quality survey that parents fill out, but we also realize that's a very general survey about their child's experience. We do believe that because parents will fill that out for their sixth grade child, that we'll be able to gain some data from that. But I definitely do hear your recommendation that we probably should customize a quick survey for particular parents about the sixth grade experience and what can be done, so we can start working on something like that.
I thank you for saying that, because I think that might be also a good marketing tool, using the experiences, the positive experiences from parents, since we decided to implement this pilot program. And, you know, like, my kid did great at Davidson because sixth grade is here. You know, like I know for some people, you know, that might sound cheesy or something, but those things do work. That's why they're around. So as you're thinking about implementing, if you can keep the board appraised on that, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm really excited to hear about the opportunities for sixth grade students to take sports at their closest middle school, so I appreciate you working on that. But is there data yet that shows that these families who kept their students in their elementary school are staying in our district, are enrolling in the seventh grade middle school in TUSD?
I do believe Mr. Bryant O'Dean probably has that data, and he can share that with the board.
Okay, thank you.
Can you go ahead and put up that slide? We looked at what we'll call, say, loss rates. So it's the transition of, it's the students going from one grade to the next and how many we lose. Typically in the 5th to 6th transition, you can see it in there, the 5th to 6th transition in the K-5 schools, or in general in K-5 schools before we started K-6, we lost about 10% of the students. With the K-6 schools, the loss was only about 5%. That's equivalent to about 40 students. So that sounds good, but to your point, the loss rate in the K-6 is from 6 to 7 is 15%, and in middle schools it's 4%. If you look at the numbers, it comes out to a loss of about 40 students. So we kept them for a year is what it really comes down to.
Is this at all tracking our pilot programs, just honing in on those pilot program
It's
students?
honing in just on the K-6 program loss rates compared to just the middle school loss rates.
I see. Well, I think that it would be helpful, like the extracurricular opportunity, connecting sixth graders with a middle school somewhere in our district, whether it's through sports or otherwise, I think will help improve this average. So thank you.
Ms. Romero, you were adjusting your mic, or? No. Ms. Ekstrom, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a little disappointed because I think I had asked for a survey a year ago and we still haven't given parents a survey. I think it's important that we do that soon because if we're continuing to see loss, I don't see how we continue to expand the program. So sixth graders will go to their nearest middle school. So Borton, do they go to Drackman because it's K-8, or do they go to Mansfield because it's a middle school?
For next year in the sports, they'd be going to Mansfield.
Okay.
So we've designated, and I don't have it memorized, though I could get that information to the board, where we have provided all the principals at the K-6s where their nearest middle school is. We did not do K-8s, we did middle schools. So for example, Davidson would be going to Doolin, Wright would be going to Doolin because those are Whitmore, Dodge. And so we tried to do it to where we could have the nearest middle school because of the proximity for transportation.
Okay. And again, with the parent quality survey, I'm not particularly, I don't find it useful. I mean, it's the same questions every year and I don't know what we get from it. So, you know, unless we're constantly evolving, I don't see how that parent quality survey is going to help us with this K-6 expansion or, you know, this pilot program. So I would like to see something different because I really believe, and I've heard from families, they're like, here's this quality survey again, and it's the same questions, and what are we really getting out of it? So I think we need to be proactive and start changing things. So that way we really understand what our parents are feeling and how they see their students improving and how we can improve our schools. Because without it, I mean, we're just doing the same thing year after year.
Thank you.
So I'll say a couple of things and comments here. So I remember when we were first approving this K-6 pilot program a few years back, I remember saying, like, I wish this was in existence for my oldest, who's now an 8th grader, to be able to take part in this. If Lineweaver is not one of those schools, but if it were, it would have been really nice to have her at Lineweaver for an additional year and be part of this. But, you know, having seen both kind of how it's been implemented, on the ground feedback, and then how my daughter has really thrived in middle school, including at 6th grade with the elective options, especially the band and orchestra. You saw her here playing the worst parent, vibraphone or xylophone or whatever the big machine is over there that she was playing here tonight. She's gonna hate me for that. I would say that, like, I would not, if I had the option to do that, I would not do that for her. I would enroll my twins into a K-6 after 5th grade and move them into middle school if it stays the way they are right now. I think a lot of the electives, a lot of the ability to have the change in teachers, and in her 6th grade year, she did have the same teacher do math and science. And so that model is there even in the middle schools. I think we need to do a lot more for the kids. And so one idea that I had was more of a hub and spoke model where you talk about kind of the nearest middle school, but we have the feeder schools. So we have the elementary schools. We know where they're supposed to feed to in a normal transition system here. And if we had a hub and spoke model where they spend their morning, for example, in their elementary school so they can have the best of both worlds, a safe environment, let's do their core classes with 2 teachers, maybe splitting like you recommended with English, social studies, math, and science. and do the mornings in their home schools with elementary, and then after lunch being bused to the hub middle school rather. So all the elementary schools in that hub spoke model, all the spokes come to the hub middle school for the afternoon, where then they can participate in the electives. And so all the electives are in the afternoon. They can participate in music programs, art programs, industrial engineering, all these different things. Lego technology is what she did her sixth grade year, and have these elective options that really expand their horizons and bring them all together. Because a band in a K-6 with just like their band of sixth graders isn't going to be the same if she's a sixth grader learning this new instrument that she's never played before with a bunch of seventh and eighth graders there to kind of lead the way and show her how it's done. And so I think staying in that sixth grade in the K-6 would really have lost her whole year of all that training and growth and development that she had. And in the afternoon, after electives, they can stay then if they wanted to, if the parents wanted them to stay for the extracurricular activities, for sports or for yearbook or whatever, all these different things that a lot of these middle schools, Dungeons and Dragons at Aliceville, all these different clubs and activities that are available for those like older developing kids. A Line Weaver at one point had like a chess club, game club, but a sixth grader playing that with a bunch of first, second graders is very different than a sixth grader playing that with the seventh and eighth graders that are really challenging them. And so that's kind of where I would love to see in terms of a change in vision and how we manage this K-6 model, where we have that hub and spoke, the part of the day in their safe elementary school with the adults that they know doing their core classes, and then bus. And when we have that capacity, because we don't have a lot of buses going anywhere like at noon or at 1 o'clock, them being bused to their hub middle school. And then hopefully that will increase that 6 to 7 retention, because they're already in that middle school to do their extracurriculars and their band and music programs and their sports and extracurricular activities. So they're maybe more likely to want to stay in that same middle school to continue those programs in those last 2 years of middle school. So I know it'll cost more in terms of the busing and kind of the logistics behind it, but I think that would bring all the kids together, give them the opportunities, have the best of both worlds of what we're trying to accomplish with this program, and maybe get some more enrollment and more achievement for the kids.
No, thank you, Dr. Shaw. I appreciate that thinking. I think like what I started with, that kind of thinking does allow us to start thinking about how we can create a different iteration of it. The hub and spoke model could work as long as we do some logistical sort of planning around that, right? From like we probably have to align some bell schedules together to make sure that those classes are being offered at the time that it's needed. Of course, with the instructional minutes, making sure that that's accounted for, because if you're on the school bus going to the middle school, that does not count as instructional minutes, so we have to maybe elongate the day a little bit. But it's those kind of things that we're happy to go back and review and see what kind of iterations we can build on for future cohorts, definitely.
Ms. Shaw.
Just want to say that I completely agree with what you said, Dr. Shaw. I equally wanted to keep my daughter at Line Weaver, but I'm so happy that she moved on and, had that scary first day. Now she loves it over there. And I'm really interested to see what the hub and spoke model can do for our district.
Anything else on this topic? All right, thank you for the late presentation.
So appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate your time this evening. So our last item tonight is going to be our future meeting dates and agenda items. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, governing board members, two things. First, in order of business, the February 17th, we scheduled an executive session meeting. We have a clean slate that evening, and we would like the board to consider canceling that one.
That's a unanimous consent? No objection? Okay, so I have unanimous consent for canceling the February 17th meeting, and I'll have Yolanda send off just the invitation for the 17th forum. So even though there's not a board meeting, there's not a quorum event, just, if you can attend, just to listen and be there to see what the feedback is from the staff. I think that'll be helpful for any board member that can't attend.
Secondly, we will be back on February 24th. We're going to have a budget reduction review session with the governing board. We'll be presenting our administrative cuts package in a lot more detail than what you saw the first time. We will also have several administrative appointments on deck that evening. We'll also have the annual comprehensive financial report. So we will be busy in 2 weeks.
Dr. Trio, for a future agenda item, can we have an information item, maybe have a presentation from our consultants for the sustainability program? I think April or early May was when we approved that last year, so it's been almost a year, and love to see what they're doing and what the community forums and feedback and how they're implementing our sustainability plan. Mr. Romero.
Also, the renaming of Duffy to the Duffy Romero Family Resource Center. Just kidding.
No one got the joke at 9:15 in the evening. It's a joke. All right, with anything else? All right, with that, we'll close the meeting. Thank you, everyone. That was a